Good morning, everybody. Let's take up our seats. Let's start this event. Don't know if there's still people. I just want to... All righty, ladies and gents, today, 11th of September, 2025, and we've got a very interesting and exciting topic. We're talking innovation in last mile logistics, and we've got a very interesting lineup with learned presenters. And our host, Professor Peter Kilburn, is going to do the official welcome just now. Transport Forum, 18 years old. Today is the 283rd event of the Transport Forum. And we're blessed in having many sponsors and associates making this platform possible for us. And custom, what we're doing at the events is we need to give recognition to them, but we're also going to have some fun. Because we're going to do this through menti.com. Just want to see if this thing is working. Yes. So the guys online on Zoom, because there's a lot of people on Zoom joining us, and the guys in the audience, all of you can compete. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you about those sponsors, play a few videos of some of them, and then at the end of the sponsors recognition, I'm going to ask 2 questions about our associates and our sponsors. And the first person answering the question right might be the winner of one of these. See, here we've got 2 very nice car holder with sucker plate phone holders. And this is to the value of around about 400 to 500 rands. So you might be the lucky winner of one of these 2, should you answer the question the fastest, the quickest. And then at the end of the event today, we're going to have a lucky draw. You might be the lucky winner of this pot to the value of about 700 rands. So that's a carrot also for you to stay besides the nice presentations. You might then be the lucky winner of the spot. All right. So we're going to give the sponsors recognition. You listen carefully. And when we're done with the sponsors recognition, I'm going to ask the questions and we're going to compete on menti.com. So what I'm going to do with you at that stage is I'm going to ask you to go to your browser, either on your phone or your PC, and you type in www.menti.com and you wait. And then when we start asking questions, it will prompt you for your name. Very important to type in your name so that we can see who won. And also then it's going to give you a code, what number you should use. But that I'm going to do from that other PC. I'll move to that PC just now. But let's have a look at our great sponsors and associates at Transport Forum. The top block there, you see it's associates, professional bodies signed up with the Transport Forum for a formal agreement. And we're going to work through them quickly. And we've got media houses and formal agreements. Obviously, there are many others involved with the Transport Forum, but these on a formal base. And then we've got gold and platinum sponsors. The platinum sponsor of the Transport Forum is C-Track, Fleet Management Solutions, Advanced Telematics. C-Track has been in part of this Transport Forum since inception in 2007, and they're still supporting us today. Platinum sponsorship, the meaning of that is the brand is to the same level than the Transport Forum's brand. So wherever my Transport Forum brand is being displayed, the C-Track brand should be there as well. That's the big thing about that. But let's have a look. Let's have a look at our associates, and we're going to start with the fun. So we've got South African Association of Freight Forwarders. Let's have a look at their video.
What does it take to compete on the world stage? To go head to head with the best of the best? Excellence, agility, resilience, the willingness to keep on evolving. It takes courageous leadership to be bold and chart the course, to connect the dots, bringing stakeholders together, to overcome the hurdles we all face, and to deliver best practice. It's about business at the click of a button, delivering at the speed of the internet, connecting people, products, and places, strengthening our supply chains, faster and more cost-effective than ever. Since 1921, we've given voice and vision to the freight forwarding industry, navigating the tides of international trade, evolving ever more sophisticated supply chains, bridging local and global markets to move our economy forward. Welcome to our world. The South African Association of Freight Forwarders, architects of transport for over a century.
Thank you, Saf. We've got a multimodal inland port association doing great work in revitalizing our rail network and the inland ports. Thank you very much for your association. We've got the African Rail Industry Association, very much active in allowing third-party access on our rail network, also revitalizing our rail network. We've got the South African Express Parcel Association, SAPA, is a representative body of the voice of the express delivery industry in South Africa. We've got the South African Bus Operators Association, representing the bus and the coach industry. We've got the Road Freight Association. They say without trucks, South Africa stops. The Safer Stops Association, Nikki Scott and her team. And the International Women in Transport Association. So those are our associations. Our media houses, we've got Freight News by FTW, news and features for import and export decision makers. And obviously you need to subscribe to all these magazines, guys, otherwise you're missing out and losing out big time. All right. We've got a Railways Africa magazine, specialist trade, technical to business online publication covering all aspects of the rail sector. We've got Focus on Transport and Logistics, and says one of the oldest and leading magazines. We've got Engineering News, part of the Creamer Media Group, and they also give us some news updates. Let's have a look.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Engineering News and Mining Weekly magazine, published on Friday, 12 September 2025. In this week's cover article, Engineering News and Mining Weekly writer Lumkile Nkompe writes that worries persist in the aviation sector despite a recent move to overhaul the air traffic entity. South Africa's aviation sector faces a critical test as recent difficulties at state-owned air traffic and navigation services disrupt operations and cause delays, triggering safety warnings from industry experts. The Engineering News features focus on the Southern African Institute of Welding, where a new technology-driven welding program is launched. Aerospace, where a firm outlines a plan to scale its operations. And municipal infrastructure and services, where effective measures can reduce flood impacts. The Mining Weekly features focus on pumps, where a provider notes that reliable dewatering solutions are non-negotiable. And exploration, where finesse ensures improved project viability. This week's business leader is Basani Maluleka, the Group Executive of Personal Banking at Capitec. And in this week's cartoon, when the latest round of electricity tariffs were announced earlier this year, Eskom immediately raised questions about whether the methodology had been applied correctly. The regulator acknowledged its error and reached a 54 billion rand settlement for which consumers will now pay. We hope you enjoyed this week's edition of Creamer Media's Engineering News and Mining Weekly. Be sure to subscribe to the magazine that offers you in-depth news about developments in the real economy by emailing subscriptions at creamermedia.co.za. Enjoy the read and see you next time.
Engineering News. Ladies and gents, a gold sponsor, proudly so, and also part of the Transport Forum since inception as our host for today, University of Johannesburg with the Department of Transport and Supply Chain Management. Also mentoring myself quite a lot, and we really appreciate the work the university is doing with this forum and support. Prof. Peter will do the official welcome just now. Then, as I told you, the platinum sponsor is C-Track. Let's have a look at the video.
Managing a fleet isn't just about tracking vehicles anymore. It's about intelligence, efficiency, and control. Still, who has the time to actually process all that information and make so many decisions? With multiple moving parts and a data overload, it's easy to miss what's important. C-Track's Crystal platform puts you back in control with smart, AI-powered insights. You're not just keeping up, you're staying ahead of the competition by reacting faster and smarter. Whether you manage a handful of vehicles or thousands, Crystal scales with you. From new entrepreneurial ventures to established enterprises, Crystal grows and adapts with your fleet. Because no two fleets are the same, and different industries have different requirements. You can add additional business features as you need them. Like analytics, custom AI scripts, electronic proof of delivery, routing, scheduling, and cameras. Our solution offers a strong core with modular optional plugins and AI that works for you. Because having the power to predict and staying ahead isn't just smart, it's a superpower.
Great work. Thank you very much, C-Track. Another great gold sponsor is Control Fleet.
At Control Fleet, innovation is at the heart of every decision we make. We execute like never before. Our features include planning, scheduling, driver application, and our value proposition is continuous value and execution for you. We love logistics and transport operations, our clients, and our aim is to provide them with new age technology, innovate their business, and take them to the future.
Great. Thank you, Control Fleet. We've got Renko here today. He's going to present today. Thank you, Renko, for coming all the way from the Cape. JC Auditors.
Welcome to JC Auditors, your trusted partner in road freight certification solutions. At JCA, we offer a single integrated solution for road freight companies, enabling you to achieve all your compliance and certification requirements. Our focus on the South African national standard, RTMS, ensures your fleet meets the high standards in safety, efficiency, and sustainability. Promoting vehicle safety and fostering safe driving behavior are keys to RTMS success. With a national presence of a growing footprint in the SADC regions, JCA is your local and regional expert in road transport compliance. Our certificates are SANAS accredited and IAF aligned, so rest assured that JC Auditors certifications are recognized globally. Our team of professional road transport experts brings unparalleled experience and dedication to every client, ensuring your company is always compliant. Having conducted over 10,000 audits in the last 15 years, JCA's expertise is proven, tried, and trusted across the industry. We proudly serve South Africa's leading road freight companies, along with a host of other forward-thinking and ambitious transporters, driving road transport excellence. Join the many satisfied clients who trust JC Auditors for their road freight certification needs, including RTMS, ISO 9001, and more. Visit us at www.jcauditors.com and drive your business forward with confidence.
Thank you, JC Auditors. Gold sponsor, Freeway. They provide fleet maintenance software, Freeway.
Freeway is a powerful digital system for managing fleets and assets, giving you real-time visibility and eliminating paperwork. At its core, Freeway handles maintenance, compliance, and procurement. From job scheduling to defect tracking, purchasing, and stock control, everything is managed from one connected platform. In the workshop, mobile devices replace paperwork. Engineers can request parts, check histories, and everything syncs instantly with our main system, so you know the status and cost of every vehicle, part, and service. Freeway connects seamlessly with your existing systems and supplier platforms, allowing data to flow freely. It's modular, scalable, and always ready for digital reporting needs. With a mobile app for remote management, a booking portal for external users, and built-in analytics to track true costs and performance. Freeway helps you save time, cut waste, and stay fully in control.
Thank you, Freeway. Gold sponsor, Bit Air Cargo. Also many years, but the gold sponsor with Transport Forum.
In the world of express freight, there's one name that stands above the rest: Bit Air Cargo. Our airport-to-airport line haul service is the backbone of South Africa's express freight industry. At Bit Air Cargo, we don't just deliver cargo. We go the extra mile to ensure a seamless and efficient experience in South Africa. With our unwavering commitment to excellence and improved technology, we handle your cargo with utmost care and deliver it on time, every time. Our dedication to service excellence is what sets us apart. We live by our core values of service excellence, mutual respect, integrity, and accountability. When you choose Bit Air Cargo, you're choosing a partner that takes pride in going above and beyond for your freight needs. From pharmaceuticals to perishable goods, automotive parts to live animal transportation, we handle a diverse range of commodities. Our attention to detail and precision ensure that your cargo arrives in perfect condition, no matter what it is. Our dedicated teams work tirelessly to guarantee the safety and efficient transport of your cargo. We leave no stone unturned to ensure your freight arrives at its destination intact and on time. With our advanced track and trace system, you can monitor your shipments in real time. Stay informed about the whereabouts of your cargo with just a few clicks. Our goal is to provide you with peace of mind and complete transparency throughout the entire journey. We understand that time is of the essence for our valued customers. That's why we offer a user-friendly online portal that simplifies the documentation process. Obtain quotations and create e-labels with ease, saving you valuable time and effort. Whether you have a small package or a large shipment, Bit Air Cargo handles it all with equal care and precision. Our ISO certification is a testament to our commitment to quality and professionalism. We don't just excel in domestic express freight, we also cater to your international cargo needs. No matter the size of your business, whether you're a small enterprise or a multinational corporation, you can trust us to handle your cargo with the same level of dedication and attention to detail. Connect with us today and discover the difference our innovative technology, seamless tracking, and customer-oriented approach will make to your operation. Bit Air Cargo, same-day express every day, overnight express every night.
Thank you, Bit Air Cargo. Very relevant for our topic today. Unitrons, gold sponsor.
In over 100 years of being in business, we've moved people, goods, and ideas across Africa. We've seen change and the opportunity that comes with it. Sometimes, growth is hard to see. It announces itself quietly. One conversation, one connection, one delivery at a time. But if you keep listening, keep solving, keep doing what matters the most, you begin to see it. The spark of progress made by a partnership, potential in a challenge, momentum in every connection. Because connection powers progress. A truck and trailer, a journey home, a handshake for a job well done. Together, an innovation that changes the game. One small action becomes many. strengthening supply chains and transportation for industries to thrive, creating the right conditions for growth for our customers, our communities, and Africa. That's why at Unitrans, doing is moving. Moving is progress. Progress is impact. Impact is growth. Growth is the potential of a continent unleashed. After more than 100 years, we don't just see ourselves as part of your supply chain. We see ourselves as your transformative partner, driven to make your growth happen. Because when we serve with intention, growth is reimagined. Make growth happen. Unitrans.
Thank you, Unitrans. Internet of Things integration, very interesting. Thank you, Internet of Things integration. Data Noble is a company that does research in your customer base, tells you more about your customer's perception about yourself, and obviously what other products you should deliver to your customer. Very substantial research they're doing. Kuba is transforming ticketing. Ticketing solutions been successfully implemented in over 100 cities and regions worldwide, deleting over millions of daily transactions, part of the ICM Mobility Group. Standard Bank, over 160 years of experience. They believe that dreams matter and that together they can make them, or we can make them a reality. Thank you, Kathy Bell and her team, for all the support through these years, and also the work you're doing with the RTMS, very important for our economy. Thank you, Standard Bank. We really appreciate you. Global Trade Solution, innovative solution, transforming the global supply chain. See, global trade, obviously all about imports, exports, and so on. You can see they're doing consulting and strategy, software solutions, and specialized services. Obviously, all these sponsors, you can get their websites and links on the Transformers website. Zutari, impact engineers, they say. Consulting engineers of note, also many years with the Transformers Gold sponsor. Really appreciate them. We've got EasyClear, leading software provider for customs clearing, freight forwarding, and logistics providers covering air, sea, road, and rail. Thank you very much, EasyClear. And then we've got Ticket Pro, and they've got a solution called Smart Tap. See, the Smart Tap solution includes key features like comprehensive route management, flexible passenger payment methods, flexible route and fare product setup, shift and dispatch management, cashier systems, inspection tools, and comprehensive management information system reports. Thank you very much, Ticket Pro Smart Tap, for your support. Let's give all these sponsors and associates a big hand for making the transfer forum possible. So, ladies and gents, we're going to have that fun now. I'm going to move over to that PC there at the desk. We're going to run menti.com. So you can go to your browser, either on your phone or on your PC. You type in www.menti.com. It's going to prompt you for your name. Obviously, you guys in the room here and guys on Zoom all cannot participate. That's why we're using this platform. And then the first person answering the questions the quickest and the right, obviously, will be the winner of this very nice phone holder. It's a quite expensive phone holder. So I'll share the code with you just now. Bear with me. I'm just going over to the other PC. Testing 1, 2, 1, 2. There we are. So ladies and gents, bear with me. I'm just going to get this thing going here. All right, you should see at the top of your screen the code 851-88438. So please make sure you type in your name and you type in that code 851-88438. Great, so lots of people are joining in. See, we've got 35 players who's willing to play, to compete. Okay, so let's do question 1. The association representing the freight forwarders in South Africa. Which one is it? Is it NIPA, SAF, ARIA, SAPA, or SABOA? All right, a lot of clever people here. SAF, South African Association of Freight Forwarders, that's the correct answer. So let's have a look at the leaderboard. Gert H was the fastest. Is Gert in the room here? Gert, there you go, Gert. Congratulations. I'll hand over your prize to you just now. Congratulations, Gert. Right, let's have a look at the next one. Question 2. People getting in. Right, here goes. Gold sponsor providing fleet maintenance software. Gold sponsor providing fleet maintenance software. Is it Unitrans, EasyClear, C-Track, Control Fleet, or Freeway? Right, 8 people had it right. It's Freeway. So let's have a look at the leaderboard. Renko. Renko. Sharp. Renko knows in the room. Congratulations, Renko. So, ladies and gents, let's give the winners a hand. Congratulations. I can just get the screen sorted. Renko and Gert, please come and fetch your prizes. It's so great, this platform, because it gives everybody opportunity, online people and in-person people, to compete. So that was great. Thank you for the fun we had. Ladies and gents, just a reminder of the Transport Forum's business directory. This is one of our BEE initiatives. We outsourced this to Olga Mashilo's company, Boleng Bontle Consultant. She handles the business directory. It's a very popular directory to get your company listed on the Transport Forum website. You have your own little web page as well. And we're getting very good feedback, a lot of hits in this business directory. It's only 450 rands per year. That's not really money. But Olga will be able to help you to get your company listed, and she even invoices you directly. It's not even a Transport Forum invoice because it's completely outsourced the company. All right, so that's the business directory. There's a Transport Forum website. Just to remind you, all the presentations you see at the Transport Forum will be uploaded to that website. So we commit tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock, you should have all the presentations uploaded. And you can download them. Actually, they will be part of more than 900 presentations presented over the 18 years with the Transport Forum. How does it work? You've got a little search engine. When you go to the Transport Forum's website, then you need to log in first. That's the deal. We need your information, then you can download the presentations. So you log in. If you haven't got a login yet, then you register yourself, you sign up, use the sign up option, and then you create your own login credentials. You log in for free or complimentary, obviously. And then you can download your presentations by going to events, selecting downloads, and then you get a simple search engine, simple but powerful, giving you two options to search. The top field is you type in a title or a description of a person's surname or whatever, and then you hit search, and it will go all through the 900 presentations and give you that information. Or you can use the bottom field, the category, and that's actually the date of the event, and it will hit search and give you all the presentations. Very popular. We're getting actually international recognition already for this knowledge base we've actually established on the web. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for all your contributions, and we will endeavor to keep that a complimentary platform to the public as long as I live, at least. So back to our day-to-day. Just before I forget, ladies and gentlemen, the restrooms are behind that reception desk there. Just behind it, there's the gents. And yeah, so 11 September 2005, innovation in last mile logistics. Such an important thing, and a very important and popular industry actually developing now in the new world we live in, last mile logistics. And also thanks for Gary Marshall, South African Express Parcel Association, also being involved in organizing this event. We really appreciate their support. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to our host for today, Professor Peter Kilburn. He's the senior lecturer at the University of Johannesburg's Transport and Supply Chain Management Division. And Prof, thank you very much for always supporting us and your mentorship. We really appreciate that. Will you please come and open the event for us formally? Let's give a hand to Prof. Peter.
Dear Harry, thank you very much for that introduction. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this another exciting Transport Forum event. It is my privilege to open today's gathering under the theme Innovation in Last Mile Logistics. Allow me to begin by acknowledging Mr. Harry van Huisteen, the custodian of the Transport Forum. Thank you very much, Harry, for being a stalwart as always. Our associates, other sponsors and partners without whom this platform would not be possible. Our eminent, distinguished speakers who've made themselves available both physically and virtually to share the insights today. And of course, each of you who brings not only your presence, but your energy, your experience, and your curiosity to this event. Thank you very much. Last mile logistics, as I'm sure most of you will know, refers to the vital final leg of the delivery process where goods are transported from a central hub or distribution center directly to their final destination, typically the customer's doorstep or a designated pickup point, as we increasingly see. The term last mile logistics may sound simple. It is, after all, just the final step of the supply chain, sometimes a very long supply chain. Yet it is often the most complex, the costliest, often more than half of total shipping cost, and the most critical part of the supply chain. Consider this: you are transporting the product in its most complete, most final state, most valuable state, most fragile state, to most likely the most important customer in the supply chain. So the effectiveness of that last mile is what defines the experience for the end customer. It's also the space where innovation is both most needed and most visible, therefore the topic of today's discussion. Let's delve deeper into some of the characteristics of last mile logistics. High cost, inefficiencies. The last mile is the costliest and most intricate stage of the supply chain, making up more than half of the total shipping expenses regularly. But why is it so expensive? Because of a lack of economies of scale. It commonly involves many individual deliveries to diverse locations, often with very complex route planning, which is inherently inefficient compared to bulk transportation in earlier stages. High labor and fuel cost, the need for specialized equipment for urban deliveries, increased customer expectations for fast and free shipping, or low-cost shipping at least, traffic congestion and routing challenges, and a significant number of failed deliveries, all of which contribute to this stage of the supply chain being the most costly. It presents you with direct customer interaction. It's the only part of the supply chain that directly interfaces with the consumer or the final customer, making it critical for customer experience. And then we have rising consumer demands. Customers expect fast, often same day or next day, and low price shipping or free shipping even, coupled with real-time tracking and proof of delivery, which places significant pressure on last mile logistics. Customers also want flexibility and reliability. They want delivery options to choose from, and they want a clear and easy to implement returns policy. In many sectors, you have almost a perfect storm for last mile logistics due to high product variety and increased need for product customization. If you come to think of it, there are more products available for consumption now than ever before. High competition and product substitutability. An end customer who is more powerful than ever before because of the amount of information and options available to them. Also the power that they hold through their access to media and their ability to influence other customers almost immediately through their opinions. So brand reputation is at stake. A poor last mile experience can lead to decreased customer satisfaction, while an optimized one can foster loyalty, trust, and a positive brand image. We've seen what Shoprite, Checkers 60/60 platform have achieved. Just amazing. I understand first-time users retention is at 85% level. I think the international norm is 30%. They're doing millions of shipments. Just this day, more than 1 million products will be picked somewhere for delivery through this platform at an astonishing 78%, or correction, 97% product availability, 94% on-time delivery. Those are astonishing figures. So poor last mile experience can lead to decreased consumer satisfaction. And the opposite of that can foster loyalty, trust, and a positive brand image, as I've said. There's a growing focus on making last mile more sustainable to reduce its environmental impact. We see society becoming more and more informed about the impact of business on the environment and the impact of last mile logistics on the environment. Then we have urbanization. The increase in urbanization is a global concern. Last mile delivery faces unique challenges in urban areas, including congestion and the need for specialized vehicles to navigate crowded streets, sometimes narrow streets, and to make multiple stops. Also, a need for staff and vehicle security. It's, after all, the most valuable final product that gets transported here. Let's look at the role of technology. It can facilitate many activities, real-time tracking, for example, to allow shippers and customers to track their deliveries, reducing anxiety, building trust, creating value through visibility. Route optimization software helps companies to optimize their delivery routes, minimizing fuel consumption and failed deliveries, reducing cost. Automation of processes like driver dispatch can improve efficiency and reduce operational complexities. So, innovation is no longer optional in this space. It's the very currency of competitiveness. We are seeing drones delivering medical supplies to rural communities, AI-driven platforms reducing empty trips and doing route optimization and demand planning, and renewable energy solutions powering fleets. Yet, alongside these advances, questions remain. How do we scale green solutions sustainably? How can industry and academia collaborate to turn research into practice? How can we get better results through private and public collaboration? As we will hear from Transnet and other leaders later. And most importantly, how do we ensure that innovation in last mile benefits not just businesses, but society and the environment? So today's program is designed to help us reflect on these various questions. Dr. Eric McGirry, proud to say one of my postdoctorate research fellows. Hi, Eric. He will start off with a reflection on green innovations in last mile delivery and conclude with a research agenda for green innovations. We'll then hear from Mr. McCloy of Transnet on collaboration between the public and private sectors. Practical perspectives will follow from Internet Express, Sasol, and Control Fleet, bringing insights from parcels, liquid bulk, and linked cargo. And finally, a panel discussion will bring together these threads with room for reflection and dialogue. If there's one theme that cuts across today's agenda, it's collaboration. Innovation doesn't happen in silos. We've seen it so beautifully with the ShopRite's 6060 platform. It emerges when researchers, practitioners, corporate startups, regulators, and students engage with one another. So forums such as this are not merely about listening, they're about connecting. So I encourage you to use the breaks and the discussions as opportunities to engage. As we embark on today's journey together, let us challenge ourselves, not only to think about a future of last mile logistics, but also to imagine our role in shaping it. Thank you for being here. Thank you to our partners and sponsors, and thank you to the Transport Forum for convening such a vital conversation. It's now my honor to declare this forum officially open. Let us begin. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prof. Peter. Such a great introduction and setting the stage for the session. We're really looking forward to spending the day with you, Jay. So, ladies and gents, our first presenter then is Dr. Eric Maguire. He's a postdoctoral research fellow of University of Johannesburg, and he's going to talk about green innovation in last mile delivery, a research agenda. Can we have Dr. Eric Maguire, please?
Okay. Thank you for the good introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Dr. Eric Mogire. Sorry. Okay, thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We are here for one goal today, which is innovations in logistics. So our presentation is about green innovations in last mile delivery, which is a research agenda. My name is Dr. Eric Mogire, PDRF here at UJ. This research was guided by my host, Prof. Peter Kilbaum and Prof. Rose Luke. So to start with, we know that e-commerce is growing rapidly, and we have statistics supporting that from eMarketer. And what that means is that there is increase in last mile delivery because we have to deliver these goods. And when we talk about increase in last mile delivery, obviously there are some challenges because this delivery is done by the conventional vehicles. And these challenges in most cases include high delivery costs. But here we are talking about the green issues. That is destruction of the environment, be it emission of carbon emissions, noise pollution, air pollution, among others. Because of these challenges, we must offer solutions. And one among the solutions is how to reduce this destruction. Like, for instance, when you talk about the reduction of emissions, and use of the renewable energies. Among other options, we are considering is the use of green innovations. And these green innovations basically means the new methods, new ways of delivering goods causing less harm to the environment. Like, for instance, we talk about the use of electric vehicles, the use of drones, which cause less harm to the environment. Even though these green innovations have many benefits, they also have adoption barriers, like the cost. Customers may not be willing to adopt them. We have what we call resistance from the customers. So because of these benefits we expect from the green innovations, and also we also know that there are some challenges which we may expect, we need to understand what have research looked out there. What do researchers examine out there? And one way we can be able to understand this, what researchers have done, is by use of what we call bibliometric analysis, whereby we try to understand the themes that people have researched out there. From the themes, you can be able to propose what future researchers can be able to do with the help of industry. So this bibliometric was conducted from the Scopus database. This is one of the academic databases for trusted quality publications. We used a query to look for these quality publications which have been published out there from the year 2000 to 2025. And that query gave us 944 publications. And we had to go deeper and remove the ones which were not adding value to our study, the ones which were irrelevant. Like, for instance, you can talk about green innovations in last mile delivery, but now they talk about electricity distribution, because in electricity we also have last mile, internet distribution. So we removed those irrelevant ones. And we did make use of software we call Al Studio, specifically the BiblioShiny app. After cleaning that data, we arrived at 628 publications, which were spread across different categories. 526 were articles, 31 were reviews, book chapters were 31, and 40 conference papers. What we found is that the annual growth rate, that is the rate at which the publications are growing every year, is at 27.45. This is very high, meaning that there is a lot of interest in this area. That is why we have that high growth rate. And then the average document age, that is we are trying to compare on average from 2025, how far, what is the average age of the publications we are using. And we found that that average age is very young, 3 years, even though we were looking at documents from the year 2000 up to 2024. So that means these are young area, which is growing very fast. On the findings, we found that there is a trend on increasing publications from the year 2000, and this can be divided into 4 phases. From the year 2003 to 2013, you can see the publications are less than 3. What that means, the mean more research is basically attributed to the focus. What were most e-commerce organizations focusing on? They were focusing on growth, expansion, getting more customers. So at this phase, we were not interested on green innovations. That is why we have very few publications. Then from the year 2014 to 2018, you can be able to see the publications have started growing up to 20 publications in 2018. And the reason why they are growing is that now, after the e-commerce have grown, now research started looking at logistics efficiency, how they can be able to deliver those goods efficiently to customers. So still, the growth is not that very fast. But when you go to 2019 to 2021, we have the rapid growth. Remember, our topic is on green innovations, meaning that now green innovations is attracting more research. And during this period, 2019 to 2021, we are getting more interest in green issues, especially because of the Sustainable Development Goals, where most governments are now enforcing, are trying to come up with measures of ensuring that those SDGs are achieved. Then the last period is from 2022 to 2024, where we have seen continuous surge, especially due to advancements in technology. More and more technologies are coming to be able to promote those green innovations. Apart from the number of publications, in bibliometric, we look at descriptive findings and also the science mapping. So for descriptives, we look at, remember we are trying to look at what most people are doing right now through the themes. So we look at the journals, and from those journals, we can be able to understand what most people are doing. The leading journal is about Journal of Cleaner Production. Cleaner production focuses on sustainability. So that means in this topic of ours, sustainability is a key issue. Most people are doing research to know how we can be able to deliver goods in a manner that we cause less harm to the environment. Then if you look at those journals, you can be able to see that the most recent and active journal can be interpreted using the M index, whereby you can be able to see that number 5 has the highest M index, which is the emerging journal, which is most productive. And the name of that journal is Journal of Retailing and Consumer Services. Is emerging, meaning that of recent past, most people are doing research which is consumer-centric, meaning that even though you're talking about green innovations, you have to consider the voice of the customer. And that is why you're talking about that Journal of Retailing and Consumer Services. Then when you try to classify those journals, the most common themes people are looking at. Number one, we have logistics journals, meaning that most people are looking at how you can use these green innovations to bring in logistics efficiency. Apart from that, we also have those consumer-centric journals, the ones which are focusing on what is the voice of the customer. Apart from the journals, you also need to look at the authors. Who are these productive authors? From the list, you can be able to see that the most productive is Wang X, doing on consumer adoption. That is consumer voice. The established authors, we look at the year they started publishing, and you can be able to see that the established the established author is Mangira Shina, which and if you go deeper to that author, you find that they are trying to understand what has been done in this area. They have conducted a review, meaning that this is one of the document which is referred greatly in this area, trying to understand, summarize all the green innovations that have been done in this area. Then the themes, when you go deeper to those others, and you try to understand what areas they are doing, most of them also are doing studies which are consumer-centric or which are related to logistics efficiency. Top countries where this research is being done, the list you can see China leading, and they are mostly conducting studies on the technologies we use to promote green innovations. Most countries are from Europe, and for Europe, most of the studies are on urban sustainability. Asian countries are also there, like you can talk about Asian countries like India. They're trying to find green innovations which can serve their own needs, like for instance, the use of the two-wheelers or the three-wheelers. Africa and South America, they are missing. Then science mapping is the second area whereby we look at this study to understand the themes. In science mapping, country collaborations, we try to look at exchange of ideas, borrowing best practices. And on that diagram, you can be able to see the thicker the line means that the more the people they collaborate. And you can be able to see thicker line is between the US and China. Those are the countries which are most collaborating, and most collaborations are towards Europe. Very few to Africa and South America. And the few that are coming to Africa, they are actually coming to South Africa, meaning that this is an emerging area when it comes to South Africa. South Africa is trying to see how green innovations can be used in last mile logistics. And examples of those collaborations, although we are talking about the ones locally, like for instance, you can most of the collaborations that are happening in South Africa are about clean transport technologies, and in most of these are in relation to the use of electric vehicles. So Africa, again, you can be able to see is underrepresented apart from South Africa and some few countries in North Africa. Co-citation basically means the group of others doing the same thing. And you can be able to see that we have three groups of others. The red cluster, if you look at those names, in research we use names for the good purpose, not like politics, whereby we promote bad practices. But in research, we try to use the names to be able to check the common interests. If you look at the red cluster, those names are common from Asian countries, especially when we talk about China and the rest. When you go deeper to those names, you find that those Asian countries, sorry, the red is the one from Europe. The names are from Europe, if you look at that cluster. If you go deeper, again, you find that they are doing on issues to do with urban sustainability. The green cluster is the one, the names, if you look carefully, you can be able to see those are names from Asian countries like China. You go deeper, you find that they are talking about issues to do with the technological advancements. Then the blue cluster, that one is about the theoretical and the methodological approaches we use in doing research. So if you look at those clusters, more research is done in Europe and also in Asia. In Europe, urban sustainability. In Asia is about technological advancements. The word cloud, we are trying to understand in this research, what are the most common words that we use? The most common one will be bigger in size, the least common ones, smaller in size. Like for instance, if you look at that word cloud, consumption behavior, sales, they're outstanding, meaning that most of the research being done in this area is consumer-centric, trying to understand the voice of the customer. However, the ones found outside, especially the ones which are smaller in size, those are emerging ones. Like for instance, you can see about algorithms, autonomous vehicles, electric vehicles. You can talk about issues to do with cost effectiveness. Those are emerging areas that more and more researchers are looking at. Then the last area for the findings is now the trend from the year 2000 up to where we are today. How has research changed? Again, this can be divided into 4 phases. Initially, from 2013 to 2003 to 2014, most research was on e-commerce and customer satisfaction, meaning that we were trying to make sure that we understand how our customers are satisfied. Again, you can be able to see no interest on green innovations during that period. But as we go towards to 2024, you can be able to see that more and more green innovations are emerging. Like when you look at the year 2024, you can be able to see that more research is being done on drones, environmental technology, and issues to do with electric vehicles. But initially, we were more interested on expansion of e-commerce, and but as the years progress, more and more people are interested in doing research on green innovations. As a summary, remember we were looking at, in this study, we are trying to understand what has been done through the themes. Once we understand what has been done, then we try to project what has not been done and what we need to do. So number one, we've seen that more research is in Europe and Asia. Very little has been done in Africa. So that means there are geographical imbalances. And as a takeaway, we can be able to say that we need to do our own research to be able to find what is working for us because of those geographical imbalances. We can't wait for those outsiders to come here and do research for us. Number two, we've also seen that most research is on the specific green innovations and also logistics efficiency. But we've not seen issues to do with policy. Remember, these are new area. We need guidelines. You cannot leave it to everybody to practice. Policy is missing from this research. Then most research was also concentrating on urban areas. We saw keywords like city logistics. But remember, in Africa, there are majority in the rural areas. So we also need to do some research in rural areas. Last mile logistics in rural areas is also missing. Then lastly, remember we said most of the research is consumer-centric. That is why we saw keywords like consumer behavior standing out. And because of that, we need to do more research which is consumer-centric. Like for instance, these green innovations we want to introduce in last mile delivery. are our customers willing to pay for them? For instance, that is being consumer-centric. Do they intend to adopt? You cannot introduce something which the customers do not intend to adopt. That is another way you can be able to be consumer-centric. So behavioral studies are needed in this area. So in conclusion, we can say that green innovations in last mile delivery is an emerging area in Africa, and academia and industry need to collaborate to be able to ensure that we adopt them. And if we go back to this diagram and we try to think about South Africa, where does South Africa lie in this diagram, especially when we talk about green innovations in last mile delivery? Most e-commerce companies have moved from the first period, expansion. Now we are under logistics efficiency, most of them, trying to ensure that they deliver these goods efficiently. So what that means, if most companies are under period 2, we are going to the third period. And the third period, which is 2019 to 2021, you can be able to see that majority of the topics being done there are on green issues. That is the stage where green innovations are being implemented. So that is where we expect to go. So that is my presentations. Thank you for listening. Thank you. Any question?
Thank you, Doctor. We will take questions at the end in the panel discussion, if you're hopefully available for us. Thank you very much. All right, great presentation with the green initiatives and important research they are doing. I'm surely going to have a re-look at this on YouTube because we, as you know, we're streaming this to Zoom and YouTube, and all our events are available on YouTube afterwards as well. Well, actually live on YouTube and afterwards. So I'll definitely go and have a look at this presentation. Thank you very much, Doctor. So ladies and gents, our next presenter, let me just get our program up here. Paul, can we hear, if we can hear you, can you hear us? Can we hear you? Can you just talk to us, please?
Yeah, greetings. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, yes. Can you kindly, Jan, is the camera on there? Sorry, Paul, we're just sorting our screen out to the side, but we can clearly hear you.
Okay, wonderful.
So ladies and gents, the next presenter is Mr. Paul Sessions. He's actually a great supporter of the Transport Forum for many years. Paul, it's so great to hear your voice again. It's been actually some time. Today, Paul is the Acting Executive Manager in the Office of the Chief Executive, Transnet Rail Infrastructure. And he's going to talk us about Transnet SOC Limited and private sector collaboration. Paul, we will tell you just now when we're ready for you. And I assume are you going to use a PowerPoint or are you going to talk from the heart?
Thanks, Harry. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Can you see my screen?
We can, yes. Thank you, Paul.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. And I would like to greet everyone from the Transport Forum. Harry, yes, it's been far too long. And I think the last time I was at the Transport Forum, it was when I was in a previous role at my last place of employment. So for those who haven't seen me, my name is Paul Sessions. I work at Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager. I'm in the office of the Chief Executive, Mr. Moshe Motloho, who sends his regards and was unable to join today due to competing commitments. Colleagues, obviously, I'm just going to try. I know I've got only 20 minutes, Harry, when I checked, so I've got a lot of ground to cover. And you'll just tell me when I'm getting to the end of my time and wrapping up. But I will be taking you through obviously an overview of TRIM because we are the operating division within Transnet and the new kids on the block. We've only been around since the 1st of April this year. And so it's very we knew, and I think a lot of people are still getting to understand what we are and where we come from and what this means. I'll then talk to you a bit about the network statement and the open access, which you all would have seen in the press, the award of 11 new train operating companies and the process going forward. I will also just talk to you a bit about the network condition, some of our financial requirements. I'll also just quickly talk about some of our security interventions that we are championing, because obviously that's a key point. And then if there's time, I'll just quickly flare through the projects that we've got underway at the moment. But that would just be if there's time today, Harry. So in terms of the overview, we are, Transnet SOC is limited, is got a mandate to lower the cost of business, enable economic growth, and ensure security of supply through providing ports, rails, pipelines, infrastructure. We really are looking to improve the competitiveness of the South African freight system, collaborate with the private sector, and ensure financial sustainability and grow the market share. There are 7 operating divisions within Transnet. There are obviously the port and terminals businesses in blue in the middle, which is TNPA and TPT, the pipeline side of Transnet and the property side. And then the rail side, which has now got the 3 operating divisions: Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager, Transnet Freight Rail, and Transnet Engineering. So it covers, I am representing Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager under the leadership of the recently appointed Chief Executive Moshe Motloy. Where did we come about? So I think most people would know that Transnet, the rail business, was always Transnet Freight Rail. They were the operator and the network manager and the infrastructure provider of rail. Essentially, we would all be aware that there's obviously the white paper on the national rail policy from March 2022. That was approved in Parliament and has been adopted by Cabinet. There is the roadmap for freight logistics in December 2023. We know there's a draft private sector partition framework on the table, the Economic Regulator Transport Act, which has been adopted and is in the process of being enacted by DOT, and then obviously the draft National Rail Bill that's still being taken through its various processes. Basically, what these did is created the vertical separation of rail. So a new thing within South Africa, where you would now have Transnet Freight Rail solely as a train operating company who are conducting and managing rolling stock and rail movements throughout the country. And then you've got Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager, who is the infrastructure manager responsible for the network capital investment, maintenance, security, network safety, ensuring train operating open access, and we need to increase the market share of rail. We really need to provide a reliable, efficient, and cost-effective rail infrastructure South Africa, and look to facilitate the migration of road to rail. We are obviously dedicated under the National Dedicated Rail Infrastructure Manager under the National Rail Policy and the ERT Act. And we need to obviously invest in South Africa's rail network, enforce safety and security, enable third-party access, enable transformation, and invest in cutting-edge rail systems. We obviously, I think if I go to the next one, we oversee 21,000 kilometers of network. What I've got on the screen displays what we consider the A network, or the main corridors that cover across South Africa. And you can see they include the bulk minerals in red, which is your coal and your ore. You've got some of the dependent corridors aligned to those, the core freight network in blue. And then obviously some of the feeders, which makes up about 12,000 kilometers. We also then have the B network, or the branch lines, as many people know them, which includes all the lines that support these. And I'll talk a bit about that in the way forward a bit later. So how we have broken this network up, the branch lines, the main lines, is into 3 key regions. We are running through Eastern region, which includes the north and the northeast. So hopefully you can see my cursor on the screen. The northeast is this lighter tan color, which covers Limpopo, Mpumalanga, and then comes down through Swaziland into North KZN to Richards Bay. That's the northeast. The north corridor goes from Lephalale in Limpopo through Gauteng into KZN via Ermelo, Vryheid, all the way to Richards Bay, and that largely is what many people refer to as the coal corridor. Our central corridor includes the central, which is largely connecting to Botswana, northwest through Gauteng in the red. And then we've got the container corridor, which is from through the Gauteng into KZN onto the port of Durban. And that makes up what we consider our central region. And then our last one is the western region, which is the Cape corridor, which largely covers the Free States, Northern Cape, Eastern Cape, and Western Cape in the yellow, connecting to the ports of East London, PE Ngqura, Mossel Bay, and Cape Town. And we obviously have the ore corridor, which comes from the Shisin area.
Paul, can you hear us? We lost your sound.
Colleagues, Harry, can you hear me? I'm not sure what happened there.
Yes, we can hear you again, yes.
Disconnected on my side. Let me share the screen. Okay, can you see the screen? Apologies, everyone.
Not yet.
Technology, hey, I saw, yeah.
Always
and
making life interesting.
Yes, no, thank you. Just indicate when you can see the screen. Is it
Almost
visible?
there. Yes, we can.
Wonderful. Okay, let me
Visible.
go.
Thanks, Paul.
Yes, I was indicating the state of the current network that Trim is operating on is obviously a deteriorated network with a backlog in maintenance. We had significant theft and vandalism challenges, particularly in the urban areas where we are seeing significant amounts of theft and vandalism. We've got obviously a large amount of branch lines and B networks which are largely not utilized or in such low density that we need to consider disposal because obviously they are adding cost and some have not been used in 40, 50 years. And then obviously asset utilization and commercial models for business growth. We need to start looking at how do we, being a network infrastructure manager, how do we do that? We obviously are now looking at key elements of a multi-funding strategy. So in terms of the green line in the middle and getting affordable and right-sizing ourselves and the network and ensuring that the access fees, but other funding mechanisms can be utilized so that we can invest in the network. We are working with national government doing the budget facilitation for infrastructure grants. And there's obviously discussions at the Transnet level around the backlog of Transnet debt. We are working with the Department of Transport on the B network and the treatment and how we would manage those. And I'll talk a bit about where that's at the moment just now. We're looking at obviously balancing the network and the needs for cross subsidies, noting some corridors have high volumes and high levels of freight and others have less. So Where is that acceptable, and how do we get the other networks to increase their modal share and increase? We've initiated, obviously, with DOT, the concessioning benchmarks and lessons learned from the past, and are discussing with them of the RFI process that has just concluded with DOT on the next phases of that, and what those concessions could be. We are obviously, one of the most exciting things in the last month has been the invitation of third-party operators onto the line through the network statement. The concessioning I've discussed, looking at the establishment of ourselves as a new operating division, which comes with its own organizational and government challenges. Subsidiarization. So as you would know, there's an intention, well, the policy within government is that Transnet National Ports Authority and Transnet Rail Infrastructure Manager will become their own subsidiarized entities that would have their own boards and have some independence of Transnet. So we are in that process of also doing that. And then obviously looking at how do we increase private sector participation and funding. So I think in terms of open access, we released the network statements, the first draft network statement in March last year, 2024. The final network statement was released on the 19th of December 2024. And that essentially opened the doors for interested train operating companies to apply for slots along the different routes in South Africa that they would be interested in. Obviously, the key around this was enabling open access, ensuring it's done in a transparent way, promoting efficiency and safety, equitable network use, also adapt to regulatory changes. We had 7 key chapters, which you can find on the Transnet and the TRIM website if you want to understand more. I think what we've obviously then done is the access is largely broken into the annual network process, which is around the network statements, which will be published. And there's a new network statement that should be published hopefully later in the year. And that would open the next round of access up. And then this would be an annual event where network statements would be released, and that it would allow additional access seekers and train operating companies to apply. Obviously, we also will conduct quarterly network processes for any spare capacity. So these are obviously for those who have interest and those who've already got access. And then there's always the ad hoc process, which deals with obviously for special arrangements that need to be managed. And the process. I think obviously the network statements had a whole range of key elements to it, which I won't go through because obviously you can find this on our website, where we were obviously asking, it covered the slot application, what was the ancillary services, the volume. We would obviously need volume confirmation letters from train operating companies. What is their operating model? I mean, it's just the standard conditions of applying. And then I think from our steps, what we basically did was we took it through a step process, administrative review over the last few months, into technical assessments and in-depth technical assessments. We've done probity checks, and we're now into the award has been made, and we're now moving into steps 5 and 6 with those 11 companies, where we are now moving into negotiation and contracting and conditions of the full precedent. So a very exciting time for South Africa and ourselves. So we obviously had a range of different applicants, and I think we had 11 new TOCs that have been awarded on a total of 41 routes across the 6 corridors in South Africa. So if you just go to the last, we've got obviously 6 new entrants on the North Corridor on 15 routes. Iron Ore, 1 new entrance, 1 route. Cape Corridor, 2 entrants, 2 routes. Northeast Corridor, 6 entrants, 16 routes. Then we've got obviously Central, 1 new entrant, 2 routes, and then Container Corridor, 4 new entrants and 5 routes. These are obviously over and above the existing TFR services contracts and routes that exist. So exciting times. So the next stage is really they've received their conditional award of letters outlining, and the next step is for them to go and get their rail safety regulator permits and application and their rolling stock readiness. And then obviously the allocation would range from 1 to 10 years, depending on these. And yeah, it's going to bring what we expect about 20 million tons per annum. And we'll start to see this coming in our 2026-27 year, up to the 28-29 financial years, where they'll be added in addition to the TFR volumes that we are already moving on the network. Then in terms of where we are in terms of the network and the statement in terms of the state of the network, and I perhaps will just point you to the bottom left corner. This is obviously the current state of the network. It's not a Christmas tree or anything like that. These are based on assessments that we have undertaken, and we've got some of them through independent technical assessments. As you can see, there's a lot of oranges and reds where we need to do a lot of work. The state of the network is needing a lot of investment and needing to be restored. This is being done. A lot of this in the subsequent slides, you'll see the efforts that are being taken on by TRIM to execute this and get this done. In fact, last year was a record spend for Transnet in terms of investment on the network, in terms of how much we invested in capital and maintenance and what needs to happen. But I think just moving to the table in the top left corner, kind of these are the figures that the volume forecasts, if you look at the bars where we are. And I think what we are aiming at is by 2030, we want to get up to 251 million tons. To get to that, we need to be spending, if you look at the top line, annually up to 10 billion in the financial year, 11 billion in this year, up to 13 billion every year. And in terms of the budgets that we have, in terms of what we can afford, we only are really able to achieve the lower amounts of 7.2, 7.9, 8.1, and 9.8. So there's a significant gap, which then would only take us, if we stick at these trajectories, would only get us to 227 million tons by the 2030 deadline. And so we've definitely got some funding gaps that we are now in the process of plugging to make sure we get to this. So this is on the current as-is basis, and I'll talk a bit about what we're doing. So obviously the first is around the RFI process that Department of Transport has run on the key corridors. You would know they for the iron and ore manganese exports. You've got the coal and chrome export RFI, and then what they call the intermodal. And we are now moving into the next phase with some of these into looking into bringing in either PSP partners or going out to the market for partners to come in. And this would then look at how we can plug some of those gaps in the backlog in maintenance and what I was showing. So these are the corridors that DOT has put out to the RFI process, which they have obviously closed, and those are now being finalized on there. I think the second thing, what we're going to be doing in terms of this is the B network, which I spoke a bit about earlier to the colleagues, is that we will be, hopefully by the end of the year, we are working with DOT at the moment to also put out our entire B network to RFI process, where we would then be asking private sector and interested in parties to submit their interest on the various lines of the B network and branch lines that how they would see themselves taking us over. We've obviously done an internal categorization where we know there's about 8,900 what we call B network. About 4,300 of that is core, where we said strategic B network that we would obviously want to retain because it obviously gives access to key customers and commodities to the main line. And then we've obviously got about 4,600, which is not strategic. And then obviously these need to be, we believe, 2,430 kilometers that has some potential for some sort of investment, or maybe a interested party would want to take that section over. There is about 2,176 kilometers that has had no activity for a significant amount of time. It's probably safe to uplift, but obviously we will also put those sections out to the market so that should anyone in the market be interested, they can register their interest, and that would also guide us to how we concession these sections of line out. So we really are looking to, by December, have these out, and then by early next year do the assessment, and then we would want to obviously move to an RFP process for the lines that have interest and look to bring in partners, and that would again plug some of that shortfall that we are there. The last one, Chair, that we are obviously also doing is the budget facilitation for infrastructure. We have made submissions already for the coal, or that's what we call the North Corridor, as well as the Ore Corridor, which are being assessed by Treasury. We will be putting the other 6 corridors in for budget facilitation funding, and again, these are the things where if they are deemed favorable, we are hoping that would also unlock the necessary funds to catch up on the backlogs of maintenance and infrastructure and plug those bars I was showing you earlier. I think a big concern for obviously our customers is our security. There is a number of incidents daily that occur across the corridors, which do hamper operations. And I think I just wanted to show this one. It's not just the theft where we are dealing with people stealing the copper or the wire and overheads and stealing signals, and that we have a significant amount of vandalism. And this was an incident that took place just over a month ago, Leeuhof and Gauteng, where you can see there was no intention to steal any cable here. It was really to cut the cable and then use the cable to really tie it up and stop train movements. And so these are the sorts of types of incidents we are dealing with. We are obviously working extremely close through the NLCC Workstream 7, which includes national government, the security cluster. And we've seen some significant improvements and arrests, particularly in recent weeks, which I'm hoping you will see in the press shortly. But I think it gives a sense of the kind of challenges that are being faced. So I think what we are really doing at the moment, we've adopting a new approach where we are deterring firstly, we are visibly discouraging unauthorized access and criminal activity, having proactive presence and proactive measures. We are looking to improve our detection using surveillance and modern equipment. We are putting in intrusion to different just barriers to delay intrusion, that once somebody comes in, we can slow it down. That allows us to then get into the defense and critically protect the infrastructure, and then obviously deny, which obviously restrict, block unauthorized access on this entire system. So we're at the process where what we are really looking at the moment, we've started and we've got outcomes-based security contracts we've been implementing throughout the country, and we want to close off the last contracts on the last corridors in the next 12 months. We've been implementing technology and modernization for our security. We've enhanced our investigation capacity, obviously, to support and assist in getting prosecutions through and intelligence, so that you don't just see the same criminal syndicates and elements getting back on the street and causing havoc. We've enhanced our data and analytics and reporting, so the decisions of deployment and where activities are being focused are being channeled through intelligence and data analytics and a range of factors. And then obviously we are working with business intelligence to also coordinate, and have also started engaging key community stakeholders where we're seeing hotspots who can identify and help us. We're then obviously looking to establish an analytical center so that we enhance our data analytics, establish a security risk management functions. We are stabilizing and increasing our investigation capabilities, knowing that it's not just about the protection, but ensuring we get these elements off the street and prosecuted. We are strengthening our stakeholder engagements across the corridors wherever they go. So working with municipalities, councillors, community forums, ward forums, tribal authorities, key customers to join us. We are actively decoppering our network, taking out the copper where we can and replacing it with conductor equipment. And then we obviously have the target hardening where across the country for relay rooms, signals, and all our infrastructure where we are actively turning them, putting hard infrastructure down to slow it down. We're also looking and working with customers to fund certain initiatives, so where it benefits both. And then obviously analytics are going to a sub-corridor level and working with the people in those communities. And then obviously we're working with all law enforcement agencies to enable this. Chair, I'm just going to flash through this because I see in my time I've done the 20 minutes, but I think I wanted to also assure the teams here or those in attendance that we are doing quite a bit of maintenance and investment. This is obviously just a very quick snapshot of the hundreds of projects we're doing. So on the north and northeast.
Paul, you can take another 10 minutes.
Oh, great. Okay. We are obviously doing slot restoration. We are doing removing manual authorizations. You can see where they are on the maps. We reinstituting a relay rooms. This is all happening at the moment this year to improve. We're restoring substation, upgrading rail network systems, a reinstatement of track condition, procurement of check rails, and reinstatement of high sites on the north and northeast corridor. All of these increase slots, improve transit times, and are some of the big ones we're doing, but these are just a quick snapshot. In terms of our central corridor, we're doing a huge amount of work. The big one is the Bombvass embankment slip, which took place in the floods. We just got the environmental approval to commence with the infrastructure and design work yesterday. I can announce that here. So our teams today are setting up site there, and by next year, we are hoping that this will be back, and it will take us from 18 to 47 slots on this corridor. So some very exciting times there, and things are moving. We are obviously reinstating 14 signal stations and in the central container, 2 in central corridor. Obviously, I couldn't map all of those. Reinstatement of 15 traction substations and 9 on the central corridor. Again, couldn't map all of those, but it's a significant amount. The reinstatement of 134 kilometers of overhead traction wire and on the central corridor. And then obviously we're also aiming to decopper about 111 kilometers on the central corridor. So these are very significant investments that we are doing and executing as we speak. We are also then in Western region doing rail replacements of 155 kilometers, rail replacements of 218 kilometers. We're doing OHT stabilization. These are all on the ore corridor, right across the corridor, which we will finish by the end of our financial year. In terms of Cape Corridor, there's a range. I won't go through each of these, but we are actively investing. And then in terms of the future, moving much further into the future, with what we are doing at the moment, we are looking to increase our rail connection to Botswana, and there's a feasibility study underway between us and the Botswana government and Botswana Rail. We obviously are working on the Waterberg revised stage 2 and 3. These obviously used to go well beyond obviously this financial year and are more about capacity expansion. We're doing the 81 power upgrades, AC yards and line for the coal. And then the Eswatini rail link, we've in feasibility to increase capacity. And then I think you can see some of them. We've just recently completed the resignaling and reconfiguration of the magnetite line. The running of 160 wagon trains from Palawora to Komati is complete. We've got the steel cord multi-user facility underway. We are working towards implementing weigh and motion systems over the next couple of years throughout our networks. The Parador shunting neck, and I think this will be possibly my last slide, is obviously also then We are improving, obviously, capacities on the ore corridor through the Selkor Yard Line, Shissen Link, the Shissen Yard, the Buchuba Rail Port Program, which we tied to TNPA. So we're waiting them to conclude some key environmental work, and we will align with them as that comes online. And then, oh, sorry, there was one more, and then obviously all the key initiatives along some of the routes that support the movement of manganese. So increasing these. And Chair, that brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you.
Very much, Paul. Thank you, Paul. You're getting an applaud here. I really appreciate the mammoth task you guys have. But when I heard what team is in control here, I had lots of hope for South Africa's rail network. And I see a lot of people nodding as I'm saying that, nodding. Paul, tell me, will you be available for a panel discussion a bit later on 12:15, or will you want to take questions now?
Oh, could I take the questions now? Sorry, Harry, I've got a competing commitment at 12. Yeah.
No problem. Let's just set up here quickly. Alrighty, ladies and gents, you're welcome to ask questions. Please, when you ask a question, you identify yourself, keep it short, and we'll take maybe 2 questions or so, and then give Paul opportunity to respond. So, Wynand.
Thank you, Harry. I'm Wynand Dreyer from Project Dynamics, also representing the Voice of Advocacy at SAICI, the Institution of Civil Engineering. Thanks very much for a really exciting presentation and what you letting us know what you're doing with the TRIM. You have marked the TRIM as post-reform in one of your earlier slides. Can you tell us how reform is going to move from the TRIM to the RIM? In other words, the independent, separate, state-owned entity that will be totally independent of Transnet, as opposed to the subsidiary which TRIM is at the moment. And considering the exciting new development of working towards allocating slots for private sector operators on the rail lines of Transnet, there's a concern that Transnet is giving those lines to these operators on a foot-to-its basis. In other words, if they break and things go wrong, the financial risk sits with the private operators. That's a concern, and the solution seems to be found in the roadmap that you've quoted as a policy document of note, which is endorsed by Cabinet. And so my question is, when we're going to see concessioning of those key freight lines that you've labeled under the RFI? When are they going to be taken to RFP, and when are we likely to see some real private sector participation, not only in a few slots on the operation, but in the re-establishment of the infrastructure and the increasing of the necessary infrastructure to realize the 250 million tons and more for the future? Thank you.
Thank you, Wynand. Paul, do you want to respond, or shall we take another question?
Yeah, I'm happy to take another question. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Harry. Mike Daniel from Rail Runner. Paul, I've just got one question. You mentioned that the private operators will be able to operate for a period of 1 to 10 years. We're all very aware of the capital required to operate a train service, and 1 to 4 years will not cut it and will not give a return on investment. Would TRIM consider lengthening that period? Thank you, Harry.
Thank you, Mike. Paul, you're welcome to respond.
Thank you. Thank you for the good questions to Wynand and Mark. Firstly, Wynand, I think in terms of Trim is not a subsidiary. It's currently an operating division of Transnet, so we are not our own entity. At this point in time, the corporatization process has commenced. That is a process that is being discussed with our shareholder ministry, Department of Transport. And the process at the moment, we are working with them, and we are hoping by next year this time that we are aiming for by September that we would be fully corporatized along with TNPA. And I think from that perspective, we will, the decisions around that, there are a few models under consideration that the shareholder ministry will obviously announce in due course. So I think in terms of what that looks like at the end will obviously be a process that the shareholder ministry would announce once all the studies and due diligence is concluded. In terms of the comment about RFP, so the RFIs some of them have just come to Transnet, and we are obviously now expediting the RFP process. Particularly, I know the one that is really progressing, and you should see some action into the I think it could be sometime next year, is the manganese line on the Cape Corridor. And as we get the other RFIs, we will obviously are working with DOT to start setting those timelines and formulating those. I think once we've fully digested the RFIs and understand and can actually conceptualize the RFPs, those sorts of timeframes will be announced. But I think it's a bit early to give definite timeframes on those, but they are key and are being expedited, and there is a significant teams allocated from our side to make sure that they become a reality in the shortest possible time. In terms of the timing that we've been given, which I indicated 1 to 10 years, was really determined on the applications made by each train operating company. We didn't dictate limitations on that. So if it's 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 years, it would be that. And certainly, as I said, the next phase of this is those train operating companies to get their rail safety regulator permits to confirm their rolling stock. And then it would be to close out on the final negotiations with us, which would then result in the signing of rail access agreements with them in the next 12 to 24 months. And certainly we will, each individual applicant who's made their interest known and what they've been assessed on is per what they've requested, and will be taken forward into those negotiations for finalization and bringing them on in the next 12 to 24 months.
Thank you, Paul. Is it at all possible to start your video, your camera?
Oh, sorry. I thought it was on.
There we go. Thank you, Paul.
Oh, sorry.
Morning, Paul. Okay, thanks, Paul. Warwick Lodge, you had your hand up. You're welcome to unmute and ask your question.
Thank you, Harry, and thank you, Paul. I did put it in the chat, but let me respond anyway. I see the first question was asked by Mark, and the question was, why was it limited to 10 years? In most of our modeling and international best practice, we see sort of between 20 and sort of 30 years being what seems to be the sweet spot. So just a question is it possible to go for more? As I see that at the moment, the requested TOCs only went for 10. And then the second question is maybe a little bit more sensitive, and Paul, feel free to not be able to answer it if that is the case. But I see from the recently announced awarding that Minister Creasy did, that one party won more than 50% of the slots. If I could just get your thoughts around that, because as we go into this process, obviously we need to ensure that we get this as right as possible. And that's just a little bit of a risk element that we are seeing from the outside. Thank you.
Thank you, Warwick. Is there another question for Paul, perhaps? Paul, here's another question here. Let me just approach the person. Just keep it short, please. We're running out of time.
Thank you, Harry. Raven from the Roads Agency. For me, it's my biggest concern is the gap that Paul has highlighted on the funding. Because if we are going to move freight from road to rail, we're going to see we need substantial funding into what Paul is trying to do. So those benefits that my good doctor was talking about in terms of environmental benefits and innovation around the last mile, we won't be able to harmonize. What is the plan around the funding gap on the infrastructure or whatever you need in order to increase the tonnage to what you have shown us on your projections? Because that's critical for us in the road industry, because we want to move as much as possible freight from road to rail, and that is very critical for sustainability of roads in the future. Thanks. Raven from the Roads Agency.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Paul. You're welcome to respond.
Yeah, thank you, Warwick. Thank you, Raven. Warwick, I think firstly on the 10 years, obviously we will be issuing network statements annually, and that means annually people can apply. I think those who've got existing contracts with cargo owners will be considered, and I think then similar to number 2. Chapter 4 of the network statement, Chapter 5, lays out the criteria on which we would assess applications. I think who got what is incidental. It's really around what the rules and the rules of access were in terms of what needed to be submitted, what capacity actually exists on the line. We obviously can't commit capacity, and that certain lines definitely have more capacity and can take more, and others have limited capacity because they've already got contracts in place. So I think really we've applied the contracts how we said we would, fairly and transparently, and those who applied for the slots where there was capacity and met the requirements of Chapter 4 and Chapter 5 of the network statement were allocated accordingly, a conditional award to move on to the next phase. In terms of the substantial investment, I don't think that's lost on us. I think the state of, I did put up that picture quite transparently about the state of the network intentionally. I think we must disclose where we're at. I think from our perspective, we are a regulated entity like Transnet National Port Authority or like Eskom. So we have a tariff regulator, which is currently the IREC, which is the interim rail regulator that advises the minister. They're an interim structure until the transport economic regulator is put in place. On that front, we've made our applications through and it was put through a public process where interested and affected parties could apply and put in their comments on that. And the access tariff was determined there. Obviously, the access tariff has been determined on what's affordable and sustainable, and had to factor in that and balance it against the needs of CapEx. So obviously, we can't go and fund this big backlog, otherwise it would make rail unaffordable. And I think we support that and support the recommendations of IREC. And we essentially then cannot utilize that to do the backlog. And hence, I think the strategy that we have adopted, is the budget facilitation infrastructure grants, which are a mechanism of Treasury and national government. I think as coming from the Roads Agency, you would know that SANRAL has actively used that facilitation for the N2, N3 upgrades around KZN. And we are similarly putting in 6 separate applications for the 6 key corridors to plug the backlog in maintenance. We will also be utilizing that moving forward for further major discrete projects, and then further the RFIs, which we will take some to RFP, or we will obviously then also utilize those to unlock funding on that front. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Paul. Really appreciate it. Paul, there are more questions and also in the chat room, but we're running badly out of time. So if you don't mind, I'm going to forward the questions to you via email. If you then kindly can respond and we can share it to the attendees. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, no problem. And thank you, Harry, and thank you to all the attendees here. Much appreciated for allowing me to join the session and just share some of the exciting things we're doing. I wish you all well in your deliberations, and most definitely, thank you so much.
Thank you, Paul. You're getting a hand here. Big applause.
Oh man, I can't hear it, so I'll take your word for it.
Thanks, Paul. Take care. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's so sad that I had to stop that there because it's such an important topic. I think you'll agree with me. But let's take a 10 minutes break. It's now 10 to 11, so let's take a break till 11:05, 10 minutes. Thank you very much. A quick break. Ladies and gents, you're welcome to bring your food along and sit and eat here at the tables. We need to continue. Otherwise, we're going to run badly over our program. So please, can you come to take up your seats so that we can continue? Thank you very much. Mammoth task in stopping this networking, but I need to get you back to your seats, please. Just 3 presentations, then we're going to have a nice lunch and networking and everything. They're not even listening to me. Jan, play that trumpet, the middle one there. There we go. There we go. All right. Thank you, Jan, for making lots of noises there for us. We're slowly getting their attention. Yeah. That bottom center bottom one there, Jan, play that one, the bottom center. That's. You see, how's that one? All righty, ladies and gents, we're going to continue. We're still talking about innovation in last mile logistics, and it still is the 11th of September 2025. And please, you need to take up your seats. You're welcome to bring along your snacks and sit there and eat here at the table. We had a great session this morning this far, and it was so important to hear what Transnet is doing, the infrastructure manager office. And we're excited what they're achieving there and the vision we have for rail in South Africa. Ladies and gents, our next presenter will be Mr. Jeff Milton. He's the founder and owner of a company called Internet Express. They're also representing our industry associate, South African Association of Express Parcels, South African Express Parcel Association. And Jeff is going to talk about our topic, innovation in last mile logistics. So Jeff, thank you very much for joining this morning. And we're looking forward to your presentation. Thank you, Jeff. Slide, previous slide, all page up, page down, doesn't matter.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. I'll go ahead. Do you want me to get started? Okay. Good morning, everyone. Just a word of thanks to Harry and the team for the kind invite today and to be able to present to you guys. The topic at hand is obviously a hotbed of discussion in the courier and the last mile industry at the moment. And I think we have to try and understand that innovation is an easy word to say, and it's an easy word to try and express that you're an innovator. But at the end of the day, innovation is only as good as an execution. And execution within the innovation space has to be viable and sustainable, not only from a commercial point of view, but more importantly, as we go forward from a green and environmental point of view. So my presentation, my talk will touch on those aspects. I've tried to incorporate some real world practical examples of what we do and what the last mile entails, because it doesn't have a sexy feel to it. It's a diesel and dust approach. Courier and the last mile is a tricky based business, but it's an exciting based business and is going to grow consistently over the next few years. So yeah, let's go through it. Okay, so when we talk about the last mile, I think the last mile has always existed, but the importance of the last mile has been really heightened due to the e-commerce boom. And COVID did a lot of damage to many businesses and many industries, but specifically in the courier-based industry and in the last mile space, courier found its niche and the industry just took an absolute boom on the back of the e-commerce space growth. And it was almost an uncontrollable boom where people suddenly had to start making plans. And within the courier-based industry, which I sadly have been working in for over 30 years, we're quite good operators. We find solutions. We find a way to make things work. And it is about being flexible in the last mile and understanding what needs to be done that actually separates good operators from bad. So the explosive growth is definitely driven by consumer demand. And I can tell you that going forward, the forecasts in terms of growth from an e-commerce point of view are in excess of 15 to 20% annually on a compound growth basis. So if you're in that sort of space, you're going to build up immense growth based on just industry size, not market share, not doing anything differently. Just the sheer market of the last mile is going to grow immensely over the next 10 to 15 years. And there are going to be continual new entrants into the e-commerce space, specifically into not traditional e-commerce-based spaces, the typical township-based areas where there's a new absorption of e-commerce, which makes the last mile even trickier. So those are a couple of the aspects that I'll touch on as well. So basically, with the boom, there's a huge increased demand for efficient last mile delivery, and it needs to be addressed and needs to be. Innovation is required in order to keep the efficiency, to keep the pricing, to keep the service, so that it can be sustainable. It's easy to deliver something in a really classy, sexy, and dedicated way, but you have to do that 20,000 times a day in a cost-effective manner, and that's the trick. That's what innovation is about, is trying to keep the cost of delivery on the last mile in a band that promotes the e-commerce transaction. No one is going to buy an item for 500 Rand and have a 250 Rand delivery charge. It just doesn't work, just not viable. So those are the areas where innovation has to be cognizant of taking into account the commercial aspects of that. So yeah, companies are scaling from a logistics point of view massively, and the last mile has coincided beautifully with what the millennials would call a gig economy, where there are more and more drivers, there are more and more vehicles. The vehicles are cheaper in terms of the capital outlay to get into that type of marketplace. So there are several entrants coming in from what we would call a delivery hailing service. It's not a ride hailing, a delivery hailing service. So it's not it's an Uber, but not Uber parcels. It's a consolidated owner-driver based mechanism or apps that make use of crowdsourcing and use the gig economy. You get examples like Pickup, who do a really good job. OneDrop do some work for Massmart. There are a number of these environments that have plugged into the labor that's available to handle the last mile. And that has been one of the biggest innovations that has come through in terms of last mile, is using the crowdsource and gig economy to scale and be able to manage the additional resources. It's very difficult in our industry to plan. So we don't know when people are going to buy items off the websites, and that creates a concern. So to have a mechanism and an infrastructure that you can concertina from a delivery supply point of view is invaluable. So that gig economy works really well, and has fostered the growth of the courier-based industry in our country, without a doubt. Okay, so when we talk about innovation, we talk about, well, what is almost the customer expectation? How do we deliver on the expectation? How do we make sure that if we innovate, is that something that the customer is looking for or asking for? Are we innovating just for the sake of innovating, or are we innovating to actually make things better? You know, there's no point in innovating just for the sake of innovating and being classed and defined as an innovator. We need to be pragmatic, and we need to make sure that the innovation that we put into the process makes the process easier and makes it a better shopping experience for everyone. So there are a couple of areas, because customer expectation is very high in the last mile space, you know, and there are different expectations depending on the type of customer and the type of product that gets purchased. So when we talk about last mile, do we talk about a 60/60? Yes, that's last mile. Do we talk about average lane delivering to your door on a 2-day based service? Yes, that's also last mile. But the expectation levels are very different in terms of the industry and the type of product that gets delivered. So for instance, 60/60 has I think it's about a 4 to 5 kilometer radius that they work on in terms of their model. So they're able to get there in 60 minutes, and they've got decentralized hubs at every point. But how does a business who has one hub, or is a lady who produces honey, for example, in Howick, what is the expectation of the customer in Cape Town? She's not going to get it in 60 minutes. It's not going to be a day. It might be 2 to 3 days. So it's setting expectation levels on the last mile that's important. And I think systems are starting to do that. So the innovation in that area is that systems are trying to now tell customers, you are based in Camps Bay, you've ordered some honey from Howick, it's going to take you 2 to 3 working days. Here's when we're going to collect. This is an estimated time that we're going to deliver and date. Where we're going forward in that business is we're going to start having to give slots. So customers want to know exactly. They don't just want an out on delivery scan saying that it'll be at your address today. They want to be able to know that it'll be with them between a 2-hour slot, and probably as we go forward in this industry, it's going to probably be at an hourly slot. And they want to see visibility of the driver. So much like on a hailing service, you can actually see the vehicle coming through, you know exactly where they are, and you get access to that. Does that come with risks and challenges? Yes, it does, definitely, in terms of security. But we've got to manage the customer expectation. So the innovation there is definitely going to come in that you're going to see where your vehicle is from an optimization point of view. The optimization tools will have to then show and create visibility on the mapping and on the web interface for the customer and provide updates to the customer. So that's part of the real-time tracking and notification. But that all comes at a price. So there's a trade-off in terms of the customer expectation. Do I want my product today for 600 Rand from Durban to Cape Town? Or am I prepared to wait for 2 to 3 working days and have it delivered for 100 Rand? So I think there are products that demand and can, from an e-commerce perspective, that's not the case. So would you pay 100 Rand for a 60/60 delivery, for instance? If we had to put up hands in this audience, who would pay 100 Rand for a 60/60 delivery? I wouldn't. Would you guys? No one. So we do it because it's free and it's convenient. Okay, so what happens when ShopRite say, hold on guys, we need to levy a fee? They've changed consumer behavior. You've become familiar with the product. They've got hubs close by. They create extra revenue in terms of clubs, like their extra savings. They've been very smart. And that is innovation in that space. To join a club, get your first 5 deliveries free, but pay X amount per month. load the pricing on 60/60 a bit. We're not really sure whether it's in-store pricing or not, but there's definitely a cost to the consumer. And at some point, the consumer gets aware of that. There's plenty of information available to consumers to understand costs. The web is awash with them. So we need to understand that innovation must come at a realistic level, and the implementation of it must add value to the consumer. It can't add cost, it must add value. So those are the tricky things and what makes innovation so difficult, because it's, as I said earlier, it's easy just to innovate for the sake of innovation. But how do you innovate that you can scale something that works and is a win-win for everyone in the transaction? That's what we're looking for, and that's what innovation is about. The other expectation that customers have is return, the reverse logistics side, which is a hotbed and a very tricky part of the transaction from an e-commerce and last mile. So the last mile, it's great. Get to the customer. Hold on a sec. I ordered the size 9 shoe. It's size 10. Okay, now the expectation in terms of the last mile is the last mile must deal with that return, whereas it's just difficult and it's a sticky process. The other expectation customers have is that they want some value adds. So now last mile operators are trying to be innovative to look at different add-ons. When they deliver a fridge, do they install it? I saw one of the ladies from Loaded here. You know, do they take the old one away? You know, that's adding value, and that's what customers are looking for. Do they do sizing? So do they have, for instance, there's some operators in Europe and the US who size people in terms of sizes of shoes. They have a shoe fitter and a shoe template and take it back to the customer and update that. So customer expectations are very high. Last mile is very difficult, and it's getting more and more expensive to meet the cost and the service expectation based on the rising costs and the rising expectations of the market. Okay, just some technology from some factors impacting the expectations. It's out-of-home delivery. So if people aren't available at home for a period of time, the new innovation and what has come through from an innovation point of view is definitely the midpoint deliveries. It's definitely the lockers. So the smart lockers, which have come into use, you know, it was Pudo, now it's a Courier Guy locker. There's Bob Box. DSV tried a couple of boxes, but I think the locker-based technology is still in its infancy in this country, but I can tell you something, it will grow. It's massive in Europe, obviously, because of the density that they have from a commercial and transaction and delivery point of view. And they have a term that they call within slipper distance. So you should have a locker within a slipper distance of your bed. You should be able to walk out and go and get your stuff and go back into your flat or your apartment or your home and be able to enjoy and consume whatever you've ordered. So out-of-home deliveries are a definite innovation, and they will continue to innovate, and they will continue to take market share in terms of deliveries. It's convenient for the customer. Route densities is extremely important as we become living into smaller apartment-based. Those are going to improve. So you're going to have smaller routes with higher densities, with return trips between mini hubs from a localized point of view. So for instance, there might be a mini hub in Melrose Arch, and there might be a tuk-tuk that goes and delivers, and it's an electric green vehicle, and it'll go and deliver 20 items, come back, go and deliver another 20, and do all of that. That is where the innovation, that is where the move is going towards. Address validation is an incredibly important part in the last mile. South Africans have a misunderstanding from where they live. You know, there's a difference between Sandton and Kramerville, you know, and people like to make sure that they use that, you know. But address validation in terms of technology has definitely been a major innovator and continues to be, because it's not perfect. So the innovation there from a systems point of view to get address validation is critical. And in most of the courier-based industries, address validation is one of the top 5 systems that we employ in order to improve efficiency and to reduce cost. You know, if we're taking out a delivery on a second or third route, it's extremely costly. It's near impossible then to make money. So midpoints, and then the decentralized dark mini hubs. You're going to see these start coming up, where maybe in an estate, an e-commerce merchant is going to, or a centralized e-commerce hub is going to start setting up mini hubs of 10 items, 20 items, 30 items in a garage of maybe a student or maybe a lady or a gent or a retiree. And they're going to handle the stock and handle localized delivery within a 1 to 2 kilometer radius. That is a dead cert, because the route density is there, estates are difficult to get to, and the last mile is tricky in those areas. So where there is high density, you're going to find these little dark warehouses and decentralized hubs that service that area. It's going to be intriguing to watch how that space folds out, because I think there's a lovely opportunity there for a smart business. Okay, just quickly run through the technology. The route and vehicle optimization and planning has been revolutionary to the last mile business. It allows us to plan which vehicles. That has revolutionized and innovated the industry and enabled us to keep costs particularly low. So it's a great innovation, but there continues to be innovation in it. And South Africa has some of the best innovators and world-renowned people in that space. The lady who handled 60/60, it's a business called Loop. I'm sure you're aware of a business called Loop. If you're not, I encourage you to go and read the story and find out about it. Loop is an incredible base system, an incredible bunch of ladies. They are world class, and they continue to innovate in this space and will do extremely well. The smart lockers, obviously, that's a major innovation, but the innovation and the model needs some innovation. So right now, the lockers belong to a certain carrier, or they belong and they have an owner. In Europe, they have agnostic lockers. So any carrier can deliver to a locker. So it's about taking an independent locker and putting those into convenient places, but then providing every courier-based company or last mile operator with access to those. That's where the innovation will come in the lockers. At some point, and I know that Courier Guy has a massive network in there, it's a costly exercise. People aren't looking to you. People want to have the freedom of choice in terms of their carrier, but they want to have the convenience of the location. So that's an important and interesting one to watch from an innovation point of view. Naturally, everyone has, when you talk about innovation, and if you had to go onto a ChatGPT site, or if you had to go and do something and put innovation in the last mile, the first picture you would see would be of a drone carrying a parcel over a busy street, So are drones, do they have a role to play? Yes, I think they do. I think it's very specific in terms of type of product, the application, and the area. We have enough risk just running half-tonners and one-tonners on the last mile, and hijacking is a real issue. I wouldn't rate my chances being a drone getting from A to B in an open-based environment. I really wouldn't. So there are a lot of risks, but the applications in the drone, for instance, in the medical field, in remote-based areas, in terms of the last mile where it's inaccessible, but and you can fix the address, which AI can then predict the next order in terms of the fulfillment of the chronic medication. All of those things are really great applications for that. But it will be a rural-based thing, or like even on a stevedore, or I read about an application where the guys use it from the port to a vessel that hasn't docked yet. So they don't have to dock. They can take a drone and send out medication or information through to there and supplies, which is fantastic. Will we be having highways of drones? Maybe not. Will it be employed in a stained city to deliver to certain areas? Maybe it will. Maybe that's an application. So there will be innovation in that role, but I don't see that being the core innovation in terms of adding broad consumer advantage and efficiency to the last mile. It's not going to give everyone what they want. Okay, green delivery. Obviously, everyone knows that this is a major role where innovation needs to take place. So, the bicycles and electric vehicles, bicycles are going to form a part of of innovation, especially with the decentralization of the dark hubs, the township-based deliveries, and the decentralized stocking. So you are going to be able to do deliveries within a 1 to 2 kilometer radius. And that's going to be great because it's going to tie into exactly what crowdsourcing is about and what exactly is gig economy is about. It's providing access to people who want to work and want to make a living to be part of something. So the innovation in arranging the collaboration between the gig economy, the warehouse, the supplier, the stock, and the courier-based companies, which need to be all kind of enveloped in one application and one system, is definitely a major push in everyone's lives. So that's key. I think a lot of people also forget that the last mile incorporates packaging. And from a green perspective, we all know, we all order from some of these online marketplaces, and we order a box of Disprin, and it comes in a box, the size it can take a swing ball, It's absolute waste, first of all. Second of all, it's an overuse of cardboard. And thirdly, most importantly, it's normally single use. So there's no return of packaging. There's no understanding from a green perspective and a sustainability perspective how to manage that. But from our side, we see that there is a move towards that, and we're trying to develop repurposed packaging, have a fixed packaging for customers that we can return so that we can deliver their items back in the same packaging, and encouragement to leave it in a certain place so that we pick it up even if it's on the second or third delivery. It's about getting the packaging back, And then what we do is we put stickers on. So we would take a sticker, and one would be green, one would be orange, one would be blue. So we would know that we would use that packaging 5 times, And that's innovation in the system to try and take what the existing system does and just make it a little bit better. It's not changing systems. It's nothing fizz bang pop. All it is good, simple, logical thinking to try and make a difference. And I think if we all had that sort of mentality, I think we could make some strides. Because often we look at the efficiencies that we're trying to eke out and green, but they don't really match up to the commercial aspects in terms of the costs of creating that green solution. And then their own packaging. So if you've got regular customers and they're part of a delivery club or part of any fixed delivery mechanism, like on Take-A-Lot or on 60/60, where you subscribe and you get X amount of deliveries, why don't you have your own packaging? Why do you need to use 4 brown bags? On the guise that it's a great thing for the environment, but the motorbike has driven 6Ks to come and get you and is driving 6Ks back. So we need to not have double standards in terms of innovation from a green perspective. If your intention is good and pure, then it must be good and pure from start to finish. So innovation cannot be based on we'll innovate sort of this, but not that. You cannot be half pregnant. You either innovate in a green way or you don't. Okay, the challenges. There are a couple of challenges. I know we're running a little short, Harry, so I'm going to run through this. I was chatting to Renita in the break, and traffic congestion causes a massive problem, which is quite ironic, considering I was stuck in a jam about an hour and a half ago trying to get here. Those are challenges. The township e-commerce boom is challenging. Addresses are difficult there. The expectation level is difficult there. That leads to my next point. There's a security and risk point of view there. So the last mile in those areas are really the green pastures to create something absolutely exciting with that environment, and to put decentralized warehouses that are linked to the central warehouse and have operators handle stock and manage stock and get it to those consumers. That consumer phase, I can vouch for it. It has grown. If e-commerce has grown 20%, deliveries to the township and high-risk areas, and apologies for using township as a word, it just is, everyone understands it from a descriptive point of view. But that has grown, I would say, twice as fast as the rest of the market. It is absolutely phenomenal. And there's some amazing operators who are playing in that space now who are true innovators. You look at Delivery Car Speed, you look at CuSCD, There are a couple of other guys that have come through the marketplace and who are wonderful operators and deserve everything of the best. They're great guys. Legislation is also a challenge. From a South African Express Parcel Association point of view, we're currently challenging the postal regulator in terms of items under 1 kilogram, which, due to a 1964 Act, I think, form part of the protected area of the South African Post Office, which doesn't exist. But it creates a stickiness in terms of what we're trying to achieve from our industry. The challenges: increased demand, massive increased demand. How do we scale that? Just trying to manage that. That's important. And then understanding that it's easy and I keep harping on this, easy to innovate and put in infrastructure. But if you're putting in infrastructure, you're increasing long-term cost and long-term overhead. And by doing that, all you're doing is you're making it less efficient and less available for customers to enjoy the last mile or to go back towards traditional trade. So those are the challenges that our industry face in terms of that. Okay, the future outlook, once again, similar: increased consumer demand. Consumer habits are going to grow 20% in this space minimum, and it's not just for food, it's not just for groceries, it's for e-commerce, it's for fashion, it's for fragrance, it's for healthcare. Every aspect of this industry is going to grow. Definitely one to look out for the future is your decentralized mini warehouses that enable people to have a route density and be able to do short, quick trips within a localized environment in order to keep the costs low, using smaller based vehicles, even bicycles or walking. The dark warehouse also along the same lines as the decentralized mini warehouses. It's a critical part of what's going to happen. The guys, in effect, ShopRite does have dark warehouses because it has stores in all those locations. But other people are going to get onto that. And I think if you can collaborate and you can consolidate a whole bunch of those smaller dark warehouses in smaller areas and manage the process and the application on the software, that's where the innovation needs to come from and will. And then obviously collaboration between the gig economy and the courier industry, that is going to only continually grow, mainly because we can't forecast the consumer habits and demands, but we know that they're extensive. So in order to have a scalable based business, we have to make sure that the interface between those two areas is clear. And that innovation has taken place, but there's still great strides. And I think further innovation is possible. And then the green impact, obviously autonomous vehicles or autonomous type of carriers to deliver products. It's a nice and ethereal wish list. Is it going to happen? Yes, in certain instances, maybe in estates where it's safe and there's a golf cart path and you can set a path for it and you can do it. But other than that, I think realistically, it's about systems, growing the gig economy, providing customers what they want with information, visibility, and integrity to deliver their parcel first time, every time, cleanly and carefully. Thanks. If there are any questions, please go ahead. Okay, great.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Very interesting presentation. I definitely learned quite a lot from the express parcel industry. And, we always can say, the demand is more demanding and it's higher, but we don't always understand the delivery side. And you guys have to deal with that. So there's a lot of challenges in that one. So thank you, Jeff, and we're looking forward to the panel discussion with you. Ladies and gents, let's move on. The next presenter will be an online presentation. Pierre informed me he's got some emergency, so he's going to present online. It's Mr. Pierre Taljaard. He's the head of outbound operations of Sasol, and he's going to talk about innovation and liquid bulk logistics. Pierre, can you kindly talk to us? Switch on your camera so they can see if we can see you.
There we go, Harry. Can you see me?
We can hear and see you. Yes, Pierre. Okay. Thank you very much.
I'm going to try and
Pierre,
share from my side.
Thank you very much.
Tell me when you can see it.
Still waiting this out. There appears a green share screen at the bottom of your screen.
Yeah, it should be coming up any moment now.
There we go. There we go. It's coming.
Right.
So just slide view for us, please.
I'm going to slide view. There we go.
Thanks, Pierre. You're welcome to continue.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the team in Johannesburg. My sincere apologies for not being on site with you. It looks like a good vibe going in the room, and I'm sure the opportunity for networking is going to be fantastic throughout lunch and later in the day. So, colleagues, I would like to just quickly talk to you about some innovation that we're busy with as industry players in the chemical space, and maybe as background. The products that Sasol and Omnia transport by rail are traditionally not products that are ideally suited to transport on road. So some of our products are therefore not road enabled. And this is purely due to the nature of the product and the technical quality capabilities that we require in order to transport these products either safely or at a specific quality level. So in the last 18 to 24 months, because of rail reliability and the issues we've had with Transnet, we have had to scrap in the region of about 1.5 billion rands worth of product just from a Sasol perspective. On the Omnia side, they have struggled to get product into the country, and as you know, they need a huge amount of ammonia for the making of fertilizers and of course for the bulk explosives environment. So it had a significant impact not only in the agricultural market but also in the mining industry. Now, this is not purely a Transnet issue that we've been dealing with. And in actual fact, I think if you stand back a little bit and you look at Transnet and you look at the industry players, this thing that we are all in it for ourselves has probably sub-optimized some of the work or some of the flows that we have on the rail network. So in this project, through the auspices or under the auspices of BUSA, we came together with Transnet, both from a technical as well as a commercial perspective, together with Omnia and ourselves, and we looked at how to optimize the various trains that we've got running on the various corridors. And in this case, the corridor that we're talking about is the coal corridor that runs between Secunda and Richards Bay and vice versa for the Omnia imports. And we're also talking about the central corridor portion between Secunda and Sasolburg. On the central corridor portion, there is ammonia flowing, and we have at Sasol a train which is called the Black Mamba, which takes components between the various plants. Now, those components are essential to the production of various products in the various Sasol plants. So you can imagine if they don't move on rail, they don't move at all, and you either have to cut black plants or where you have fatal production, you need to start scrapping product. So just in summary, this is about taking those flows and finding the optimal way of combining them to make sure that there is sufficient capacity for both companies and sufficient capacity released back into the Transnet environment that they can use in other flows. When I say that, I talk about things like, our White Mamba, which is the Secunda to Richards Bay train, normally ran 7 trains a week. Of late, it's been running between 4 and 5. And on the Omnia side, they needed 4 trains a week between Richards Bay, and Sasolburg. Now, we've decided in this project to bring these flows together. We obviously had to go to the Competition Commission and get the correct exemptions to talk to each other and work together, and we have achieved that. So what we are targeting here is an 80-wagon train, which will be the single largest chemical train in the South African history. So we've run the test train, and together with the technical teams from Transnet, the test was exceptionally viable and successful. It showed us what can be done. It showed us how we could optimize bidirectional flow of the various trains, and it certainly enhanced our ability to move product between the various nodes on the network. So just as a schematic, The green one that you see there is the Omnia flow. That would be between Richards Bay and Sasolburg. The little blue one is the Black Mamba, which is our components trains running between Secunda and Sasolburg. And then the White Mamba is our export train with a little bit of import ammonia between Richards Bay and Secunda. And these products go into a myriad of products, as you can see on the left-hand side there, from agriculture to clothing to chemicals to medicine. We are one of the largest suppliers of high-purity ethanol that goes into the manufacture of insulin. So you know that there's quality is of the highest possible standard, and quality needs to be maintained as such. The economic impact of these trains coming together is in the region of about 1.2 million tons, or 4.8% of the GDP. And just to put into context the additional volume that's going to go with Transnet in this case, it's probably going to be in the region of between 200 and 300,000 tons of additional volume on these corridors. It also means that we are densifying the corridor, and therefore, as alluded to earlier by our Transnet colleagues, the opportunity for theft is decreased. I'm a very firm believer that we need to run many, many more trains so that we have the headspaces as small as possible and that we do not provide opportunities for theft on the network. Just the project introduction, the various flows, we've already spoken about that. But as you can see there, ammonia import 170 plus tons, 2 40-wagon trains a week, which they've run, in some cases 3. The White Mamba is designed for 7 by 71, which is 900,000 tons. And then the Black Mamba 3 by 40 wagons in the region of about 180 to 200,000 tons per annum. So what is the opportunity? As already alluded to, we're increasing the cadence or densifying the network by running these 80-wagon trains. The ultimate impact is less infrastructure capacity required, so not 2 trains a day, but rather 1 massive train that is run under better conditions, much better locomotive utilization. In both the cases of the Sasol train and the Omnia train, we needed 2 sets of electrical locomotives, which we can now relinquish 1 set of back to Transnet to better utilize in other areas and gain more capacity for the network and hence move more product on those lines. And then Secunda to Sasolburg is to maintain a train length of at least 40 wagons and to move it from a 3-day to a 7-day-a-week service. That gives Omnia the opportunity to have 20 wagons on the back of that train every single day, and that obviously drives sustainability for their plant in Sasolburg. Ultimate impact, greater infrastructure utilization, greater locomotive utilization, and a lot less idle time on the system. So what have we done up to now? Both the Black Mamba and the White Mamba had to go through comprehensive redesign together with Transnet and the Transnet technical teams. We've had to go to the rail safety regulator for approval after we've done all these test trains. And we are now in the process of doing the final evaluation on these new trains. Once the RSR has given us their final letter of no objection, which we hope to receive during next week, we will then run 4, call them training trains, to get the drivers up to speed. And then beyond that point, this train will be operationalized. For us as Sasol, that is a massive, massive win, because we have regularity in supply. We understand how we can mitigate the massive losses we've taken as far as some of our product is concerned, and we can grow our market share. And similarly with Omnia, exactly the same, a reliable supply of ammonia out of Richards Bay and maintaining their market share as far as the mining and agricultural section is concerned. Just in terms of rolling stock, and that's also important, is that both Sasol and Omnia have over time invested quite heavily in privately owned wagons to the tune of 303 tankers at Sasol on the White Mamba. And the Black Mamba, there is a fleet of approximately 120 tankers, and we are currently engaging Transnet in a customer-led solution to bring those back up to an acceptable level of maintenance and availability. And Omnia have invested in over 205 tankers from an anhydrous ammonia perspective. What we're also looking at is to take some of our mainline locomotives that we've currently got running in Secunda and to repurpose them to help Transnet run these trains on the dieselized sections of these various services. And that is also now in discussion as far as a customer-led solution is concerned. And then, of course, there are still some more PSP options, as referred to earlier by the representative from TRIM. We're looking at the lease or the customer-led solution for various fleets, We're looking at assisting Transnet with bringing on board more capital to try and help maintain the current fleet of electrical locomotives that are still somewhat problematic. And once we can get that done, we know that we will have a stable, well-run system for these various trains. So far, benefits. Again, better utilization of resources, both for ourselves and Omnia. We have achieved a competition block exemption, which means that we can now promote a collaboration to build business cases against critical infrastructure. So we're allowed as an industry now to come together and to assist Transnet and Portnet in working together to improve the capabilities both on road and both on rail and at the port. We've taken significant dead legs out of the train service. And then last but not least, we've also got, just going to get back here. We've obviously also seen a vast improvement in trade promotion in terms of increased import capacity, more reliable rail flows, and ensuring that we do not have additional costs in our various supply chains, both in and exports. And that is the sum of it, Mr. Chairman. That is the project. It still needs a huge amount of work. It's still running under the auspices of BUSA, and we get together regularly, well, basically on a weekly basis. But everybody's excited, and everybody knows now that if we work together as an industry, together with Transnet, we can certainly make a huge difference in bringing cargo back from road to rail. Just for Sasol alone, this is over 200,000 tons of product that is on road at the moment that will move back to rail at a significant cost advantage. And that's us. That's what we're doing together as an industry in the chemical space.
Thank you so much for such exciting news. Yeah, you're getting applause here.
Thank you, guys.
Exciting news. Just curiosity, 80 wagon train, how long is that? More than a kilometer?
Just a little bit over a kilometer. We've had to obviously enhance our shunting facilities and our yards at Secunda and various other areas to accommodate it. And similarly, we had to do a lot of investment at the terminals down the coast in order to accommodate these massive new trains.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Is it possible for you to stay online for for half an hour for a panel discussion?
Harry, is it possible that I can have the questions? I've got to run to another.
Okay, sure, no problem. Let's. Are there any questions for Pia? Let me have a look. In the audience, anybody online perhaps who can unmute and ask a question?
I see Gideon Kutsia's hand is up.
Gideon, you're welcome to unmute.
Thanks, folks. Pierre, a very interesting presentation. I like what I see. This is, as you say, you densify, you reduce dead time, and you use all assets productively. The Competition Commission issue, was that relatively easy to do, or was that quite a handful to get done, or was there like, no, this is the right thing to do, let's see how we can make it quickly happen, or was there a lot of obstacles in your way?
No, there is in actual fact a fairly painless process. I think, the pressure that has come from government as well in order to try and, let's say, reinvigorate the rail environment has put a lot of impetus into the move that we've done. We were certainly supported very, very well by Transnet. We were supported extremely well by the Competition Commission. They came out, they listened to us, and they immediately, said to us that they don't see a problem as long as we obviously stay within the guidelines which they've presented us with. And now we are soon, probably by the end of, hopefully next week, they're just looking at the minutes of our meetings. We will have an industry-wide, Competition Commission exemption. So if you will then be able to use that exemption for other work between industries as well. So we set the base that is available now to other industries as well.
Thank you, Pierre. Another question, perhaps? Seems to me everybody's happy. Pierre, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time spending with us and presenting this. And I'm quite sure a lot of people are going to see this on YouTube as well. So all the best with this big chemical product. And we're looking forward to seeing the progress in the future. Thank you so much, Pierre. Take care. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Harry. And if there are any questions, please pop them on email and almost welcome to answer them.
We will certainly do that. Thank you, Pierre. Take care.
Thank you, guys. Have a good one.
Same to you. Thanks. All right, ladies and gents, that was another great presentation. Now we're getting to our last but not least presentation. Our gold sponsor, Mr. Renko Berg, and he's the Chief Executive Officer of the company called Control Fleet. And he's going to talk about the linked cargo owners. Thank you very much, Renko. Let's give him a hand.
There you go. Good afternoon, everybody. Lovely to be here. Harry, thank you. All your effort, like always. UJ, thank you for hosting us, and all the participants, thank you for your time and making the effort to be here, either online or in person. And then a special thank you to the students. I know there's many of you, and you represent the future of our industry. So very happy to also see so many of you in attendance. I'm going to dovetail with Geoff in terms of innovation and last mile. I represent a technology business, and we create software more for the line haul transport operators. But even in that space, full load type of transport operators, the last mile is imminent. It's real, and it's impacting them across the board, similar to what we now traditionally see as the last mile participants. When I think of the topic at hand and the combination of last mile and technology, the first thing that pops up to me and it resonates is unpredictability. And that's caused by me and you. It's caused by our patterns of purchasing and buying. It's caused by the fact that we are influenced by inflation, tariffs, fuel costs, when we buy, fads, retailers that evoke emotion and why we buy and the patterns. And then aside from that, how do the logistic operators keep up with that trend? And how do the technology providers that support the logistics providers provide the necessary tools for them to sustain? Ironically enough, if you look at technology and if you think of AI technology in this space and applied to inventory control, which makes a massive impact in the last mile space, one starts to sort of resonate in recent years that it's always based on historical data to make predictive analytics for you to be accurate in your prediction of where you need to have stock to deliver. But what happens in a world of unpredictability that we can't rely on historical data for that to help us make predictive decisions? And that is the world we're navigating in through now. So what is feeding this last mile? I echo the sentiment of many of the speakers. We know that the e-commerce boom is completely flooding the mechanism how stock is being purchased and received by clients. We know that COVID obviously propelled that exceptionally into a fast forward mode. We know that the behavior of consumers have completely changed. The adoption of immediate gratification, immediate deliveries, and that's being spoon-fed and adjusted with technology making that able. Where were the days that we were pondering about a couple of days delivery? It's become almost frowned upon if it is not at least within 2 days or within a day. So technology is feeding that consumer behavior, and this is all now being able to be managed from an app. So sitting in the comfort of your own home with immediate need for satisfaction in terms of immediate delivery, all this must be navigated by the logistics operators to get that done and make use of technology to assist them to get that. So what are the challenges? Ironically enough, a lot of the challenges in the South African space are not necessarily technology. A survey done recently shows that a lot of the hesitance or the propelling of the last mile in South Africa is mainly still about security and infrastructural aspects. Then followed by something that most of us in most years were, concerned about, and that is, the data aspect to it, which is the addressing, etc. So those are things that potentially we have to take hands of government to help us assist in getting that security infrastructure ready so we can propel the last mile. What are the characteristics that have really contributed the most? We know that in the South African context, the parcel and the courier and the privatization sector really is the dominant player. We in the lack of potentially the post office and state-owned enterprises. So the private sector has really stepped up. The e-commerce drive is enormous. I mean, if you look at that statistics, a report done by Worldwide Works Online Retail, the South African online retail consumption based by 2026 is about 71 billion rand. That's 26% anticipation increase from the previous year. That is enormous. That is very relevant, and it's not going to. It doesn't show any signs of fluttering down. And then again, something that Jeff also alluded to is the out-of-home boxes, the pods. This is growing. The estimates of about 1,200 of them already in the country. Various suppliers offering them, and again, also still very in the infant stages. So if these things are playing more and more part in this landscape changing, how does technology start to play up? Certain characteristics are showing to be winners and losers in this space of last mile. And ironically enough, the combination of cost on-time delivery is the highest. But when I looked at the statistics, what was quite interesting for me is that the on-time need is higher than delivery time. I interpret that to be if we can be more accurate on when we tell you we'll be there, we are more happier than the fact that we know it might take long or how long ever it will take. So that on-time urge and that ability for it to be when you say it will be there is the biggest priority that shows when you are, a dominant player in this space. And that again is going to speak to the underlying technology you need to assist you to get that done. So the outlook of that is, from an industry perspective, it is growing. It is not going to, fade out. We need infrastructure aspects to assist. We need security measures to improve. But then we need to start embracing technology. So let's unpack that a bit more. Certain technologies we all have heard of. Many of them we've not practically experienced yet, maybe not even in the South African market yet. But one specific aspect when it comes to inventory and stock management is the predictive analytic aspect. So we know that there are machine learning, artificial intelligence software applications used to manage and analyze multiple sets of data so that we can start predict patterns, predict when me and you will be buying what. So if we know when certain things will be bought, we can make sure that retailers have got stock at the places where we need it. And we know that the logistics providers can do the logistics of the movement of that stock. So you have it at that finger point, quick gratification need of when you want it. So a lot of predictive analytics is being used already in smaller degrees or larger degrees when it comes to inventory control. Automated exception handling. That is quite an interesting aspect where the interference almost of technology comes in play while the execution of last mile is happening. So let's make it practical. Delivery vehicles are en route to deliver in a sequence of events in terms of delivery points, and something happens. Traffic jam, incident, change in ETA schedule. How does the systems then intervene into that schedule to update the role players, update the schedule, and have that continue seamlessly? That we see a lot in the transport and route optimization space. Another piece of technology that's playing a smaller role necessarily in the South African market up until now is ground robots. So for example, within office campuses, or even a campus like here, ground robots that can do sidewalk deliveries from parcels that need to go from one office to another. A more practical example in the United States is Amazon that's launched their ground robot for sidewalk on a bit more longer distance in testing phase called Amazon Scout. Or in South Africa, even where, refineries are using ground robots to clean out their refineries or do inspections on the sites where they don't have to send out people in vast areas to do that. Another example that we all experience, most likely all of you have had a call in the last week or two from a potentially not a human, but a bot informing you about a potential service or rating a service. That chat bots, that service bot is going to continue to grow. And we see that also becoming even more practical when we are making our decisions on what we need to purchase. H&M globally have installed their chatbots where, based on what you've purchased of them before, they can start to predict or start to suggest what type of, clothing pattern or fads or fashion items might suit you better. Domino's Pizzas have adopted the same, where, making the decisions of what toppings to do based on, data that you've provided to them in terms of your favorites. We see that a lot when you look at our Netflixes of the world, sort of zoning in onto your data, what you like to predict and to sort of suggest what you want. So the technology is there. It's not always practical in your face that you feel that now I'm being absorbed by AI or not. Underlining it is all around us, and especially in the logistics and also the last mile space. So let's delve slightly a bit more deeper into that AI term that gets used quite a lot. And in the last mile logistics space, where does that get used the most at the moment? Top of the mind is currently still route optimization. And in that space where the transport haulage is done, we need to consider multiple factors. We need to consider distance, cost, outside variables like weather, consumer behavior, slots of loading or offloading. All those considerations need to be factored together. And each of those considerations can change simultaneously or dependent on each other. So what does route optimization do based on and using AI as a base? It can multivary those factors continuously and help us get continuous answers of this is now the next or the best solution. This is the suggested answer for the variable that has just changed. After route optimization, most of the analytical AI adoption is in inventory. Again, predictiveness, inventory availability, stock patterns of when to place orders, when to release stock to certain areas. And a nice example globally is what Levi has done. Levi jeans across the entire world, based on what region, have got different styles. Different areas are buying different types of jeans. Not one jeans being bought by the same person in Southern Europe versus in Africa. So how do you manage that? What they've done is, again, using AI, looking at buying patterns in specific regions, looking at fads, looking at where retailers are making certain promotions, knowing when to have which type of stock in which region. And that is super practical and has a very, very direct bottom line impact. In their case, a study showed that they had a 15% reduction in stock outs, which for a retailer is absolute suicide if that happens, and about 10% increase of turnover of stock. Having the right stock at the right place is immeasurable. In general, and specifically for us, even in South Africa creating technology, if you look at the key technology aspects that are being asked for now consistently, it really does average between that optimization, as I explained, that real-time tracking that we know clients want to see. They want to see that vehicle bar move. They want to know the exact kilometers to get there. They want to be able to go onto a map to see and to trust that that's the real aspect, where that's where my vehicle is and I can make my plan. And then also, how does that impact customer experience? Being reactive, if I haven't received my stock, where do I do my complaint? No. I want to be proactive to send you the alert that I've got my plan changed and it's going to make this impact and this is the new time. That all is factored in the technology space. The clients that we serve currently in line haul transporters have already adopted this. They are already giving clients a bar chart tracking customer portal. They are already using their drivers to capture electronic PODs and access that documents via customer portal. And that is a secondary adoption where the last mile operators have had that technology in their play for many years before. So it is really something that is practical in our market. We are experiencing this on a daily basis, and it will continue to grow. So final remarks. The first thing is we live in an age where that unpredictability is not going to become predictable. I think the unpredictability is going to be underpinned by the fact that we have to capitalize on that based on the e-commerce boom, the fact that patterns are going to continue to change and grow. What we need to get ready and have secured is the base, our infrastructure, our security, making sure that our out-of-home delivery pods and infrastructure is being secured so that can, facilitate the last mile growth, and being able to understand what technologies are available. For those that have not, digitized, wherever you are in your journey, know that there are multiple solutions available across this market. You don't have to go, across the sea to go and find them, and make it part of your journey. Make it part of your consumption journey, or make it part of your supply journey if you're the one servicing into this space. Thank you very much.
All righty, ladies and gents, this was a great presentation. And I think it was also very relevant in terms of closing the session and bringing everything together, and the beautiful research being shared here. Renke, thank you so much for that. And as I told you earlier on, he came all the way from the Cape to come and present and be with us. We really appreciate also your sponsorship of the Transport Forum. But now we want to do a quick panel discussion. We're going to put a few chairs here at the front, and those panelists who are still available, that we kind of get them here at the front. It will be your opportunity to pose questions to the panelists. So can I see who of the panelists are available? I know Jeff is here and Renko is here. Who's the other panelists available? It's only those two we've got here. Okay, Jeff and Renko, if you don't mind, if you guys can come to the front, we'll take up seats here at the front. All right, seems the equipment is working. I just have to figure out where I've put the other microphone. You guys can take this one so long. There we go. Test 1, 2. All right, so questions to the panelists. And please, when you ask a question, keep it short. Don't do a speech. Keep it short, just one question. And identify yourself when you ask the question. So here's the first question to our panelist.
Hi, my name is Bongi and I represent Loaded.
Still closer to the...
Can you hear me? All right. Sorry, my name is Bongi and I represent Loaded. And I think the first question, well, I only have one question directed at Renko. You alluded to the fact that on time is like one of the biggest challenges that we have. And in the last mile logistics space, that's very important for us. So now I want to ask like seeing as you're in tech, how do you incorporate the realities, the operational realities that we have on the ground, like congestion, for example, into like predicting an on time without factoring in that there's a tracking system on your tech? I hope you understand my question.
Yeah, no, thanks, Bongi. I can answer from a practical perspective what we do. You did, however, throw a little spanner there in the end of saying without or with tracking. I'm not sure, but I can answer you of what we do, and then maybe. So we do marry those two worlds. So we see that, an operational level, creating an order where you put in the expectation, which is where do you load, where do you offload, is there a due date, is there a due time, is there potential dwell time that you already have or know that you want to incorporate. So the ordering side, and then we do marry and link onto the tracking. So when we bring those two together, they start executing. So then we start tracking based on the tracking of the vehicle, the device, or whatever track telematics is being used. As it progresses on the order that it has been assigned, then we start, calculating distance to remain. And as that then gets pivoted out because of factors, that adjusts the ETA. What we haven't done yet, but we know that it will become more relevant, is incorporating, more practical map providers that are, supporting that live traffic feed. In our space where it's more line-haul orientated, we potentially might want more of a line-haul truck, full load truck map orientation. That's why, we're still dabbling to see which one's the best. But that would give you that live feed of the traffic incorporated with what you've put into the order. Due date, dwell time, etc. But yes, we marry that tracking with the order to get that result. Without the tracking feed or without a device feed to know where the actual asset is, that would be very predictable, very unpredictable. Thanks, Bongi.
Thank you, Renko. Another question. Anybody online who want to unmute and ask a question? Seems the online guys are happy. Here's a question. The lady in green.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anele. I have a question for Mr. Jeff, right? Yes. You said that innovation must add value to customers, not a cost. So my question is, from your experience, how can companies balance adopting these technologies with keeping services affordable for customers?
Sure. Thanks, Anele. I think that's the crux of the matter, is finding that innovative spark that does add value but doesn't add cost. And it might add cost, but also adds value. So it's a neutral. The customer is happier. In terms of innovation, I think it's driven a lot by, at the moment, systems from a predictability, planning, AI perspective, communication layers. I think customers are looking and are requiring more communication, and that's not a massive investment. That's a culture, that's an attitude, that's an innovation. So, for instance, from a practical point of view, most tracking information at the moment within the industries uses an SMS-based platform to provide tracking updates, or an email-based mechanism. The innovation now is to use a WhatsApp. So I think that's how companies do it, is they find a better way of communicating and getting through to their customers and engaging. So maybe an SMS 10 years ago would have been the message of choice, but now the message of choice is we're all on our WhatsApps right now. So it's important that customers get in a format and in an environment they're happy with and that they can ingest and enjoy. SMS works, but it's not their preference. So innovation must be what the customer preference is, where you find your customer, how it's easy for them to ingest the product, the information, and the service. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Another question, perhaps? There we go.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Malsela Bodu, and I'm from the University of Johannesburg. My question is directed to Mr. Renko. considering that last mile logistics is predominantly operated by small to medium enterprises, which often face significant capital constraints, are there any ongoing discussions or initiatives with companies that provide last mile software solutions such as route optimization and delivery management systems to offer financing or alternative access models to these services? Could such arrangements help with SMEs overcome loan barriers while simultaneously enhancing efficiency in last mile logistics? Thank you.
Love that question. First of all, to piggyback on the previous question also, as this space is getting more and more congested, obviously because we are on the fourth industrial revolution, technology is going to follow. Something I said. Technology is following wherever, and in this space, 100%. So what I'm trying to get to is there's a lot of tech suppliers also in this space, which does tend to bring down general cost of what this software would entail for you to as an end user to purchase. And we are moving into a space where it is really software as a service. So the binding of long-term agreements, upfront capital in terms of implementation, hardware that must be purchased and also put into a capex. So yeah, that is fading very quickly. And we are seeing more and more that there are short-term or not short-term, but finance options that are looking at putting into that OpEx your technology. For those that are also struggling, even to participate in that, regardless of the fact that the initial fee is already sort of dramatically dropped down. So if it comes down to affordability, it's changing. And locking down into one supplier for a long-term period, also changing, fading out. Best of breed, get value. If you don't, be able to move quickly and seamlessly to a next technology provider. I think that's what we're going to see in more and more happening. Hope that answers.
Thank you, Renko. Ladies and gents, I think let's go to closing this event and asking our panelists maybe for some closing remarks. I don't know which one of you are ready to go first. Jeff, maybe some closing remarks for us?
Yeah. Firstly, thanks, Harry, for the invite. I think it's lovely to address you guys and have the opportunity to address the hall. It's also encouraging to see, having worked in logistics and transport for a long while, that there are younger entrepreneurs coming through, and that we live in an interesting phase, and transport has never been as diverse in terms of the disciplines that are required to create a business. So, yeah, stick with it. I think there's a lot of opportunity in this sector for everyone. And as as people say, you can't fudge a delivery. Something still has to be delivered. It's a physical task that needs to be done. It's not a virtual task that can be automated or can be replaced through an AI or an automated process. It can be enhanced and the efficiency can be improved, but at the end of the day, logistics will always be around. So thank you for the opportunity to express my viewpoints. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for you being here, Jeff. Really appreciate it. Renko, closing remarks.
I completely echo that sentiment. I almost feel obliged to have the following quote that many of you might have heard, but that is especially for the students here. AI is not going to take your job, but it might take the guy's job not using AI. And I think the perception of what technology can do is where you have to have your mindset. Get your hands dirty, understand it, know where it needs to get pivoted, know where you can play your role, and especially if you're in the logistics space. It is very young, it is still very early, it is prime for you to understand how you can leverage it. It's not going to replace you, you can leverage it. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you. Wise words. Ladies and gents, let's give our panel a big hand. So this is bringing us to the close of the event, but we still have the lucky draw. So we can say goodbye to our online audience. Thank you very much for joining in, guys. We really appreciate you spending some time with us. So we're saying goodbye to the online guys. Ladies and gents, what we're going to do, I first want to make the announcement that next month is Transport Month. So on the 9th of October, what's happening? What am I doing? I don't know what's that.